Hello, everybody. We've got week 8 of the Blue Otter Diamond League Otter Talk. It is me, Alk Battery, joined by multiple members of the community. We've got TPF Tempest Chief, we've got Akuma Sabers Vailder, and we've got Mars in the forwards, Crisp 10. Across the board, I think we got a lot of fun kind of people still sitting here. We got Wookie joining us as well again this week. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Chief, we'll kind of just start from the top down. How are we doing today? Congratulations on your win yesterday.
Yeah, we are feeling really good, and hopefully we can take that momentum and win our match today.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. I mean, you guys have, let's see, you guys are going to be playing against Elysium Aries, which they're on a pretty big streak as well. I think if you're able to break that one, you guys are looking good and potentially going to be making that kind of last second run right into top 6. So looking forward to that. Vailder, welcome to the show. Long time no see, brother man. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Real quick, what happened last week? We've got Crisp 10 here alongside us, so we got both sides of the argument. What happened?
We kind of felt like the league was getting a bit stale with us just winning every single game. Like, hadn't dropped a game since the beginning. We just wanted to spice it up a bit.
So instead of dropping one, you dropped 2. I respect that.
Yeah.
You wanted to double the amount of losses you guys had. So.
Don't check any of our PayPals either.
There you go. Okay. Probably don't want to say that. Look, Dory was just in here. I know Bully's busy with Saito, Path to Pro. I don't know if you want to get investigated like that. I don't know if you need Traxon inside your DMs like that. But Kristen, welcome. And again, like I said to Chief, congratulations on your win. How are you guys feeling and kind of coming into the last couple weeks of the show of the playoffs or regular season?
Thank you. It's just I think we just started to click a lot more because early season first week we didn't have Mars, our glorious king. So yeah. He's finally back and we're clicking, getting our drafts. I had to show Matt G who the better weak side bot laner is,
Yeah. That the Ashe versus Ziggs, it happens. It was when we talk about you guys are extreme Ashe merchants. You've been really big on the Ziggs. I know I gave you one of the player of the weeks a couple weeks ago. I think it was in week 4, one of the first ones that we did. I ended up giving you that one, so congratulations again. Let's kind of move on to kind of our week here on what week 8 in terms of the schedule is going to be looking like. We do have, as you see on your screen right now, the show that we're going to be having on for today is going to be Omega Goobers versus Akuma. But in terms of games this week, across the board, there are a lot of games that I think if you would have told me like 3 or 4 weeks ago they were going to be pretty interesting, I might have looked at you a little bit funny. But we've got Art versus Kediment, which I know across the board it seems like we're going for Kediment, but Kediment has been putting on a bit of a show in the past couple weeks with their kind of revolving door roster. We've got Omega Goobers versus Akuma, like we were saying, that is going to be our kind of show for our match of the week. We have Elysium Aries versus TPS Tempest, which again, Elysium Aries on a 5-week win streak right now. They're looking really, really good. And TPF Tempest, a team that's pretty close to my heart, just because I've been kind of shilling these guys. I've been really hoping that they're able to kind of put it all together, and they took a win last week, so I was pretty excited about that. XG Leviathan versus Grown Boys Click, which I don't know how you guys feel. I know looking at our predictions kind of beforehand, I can see that we have GBC almost across the board, but GBC have been on a bit of a slide, and XG are, they might surprise some people. And our final match for the week, the Mars versus the Forwards and Final Boss Diamond. So let's kind of just take it from the top here. Kind of just talk to me, I guess, Chris 10, how are we feeling about Kediment right now? Because they've been putting together wins, but they're still a team that I don't know if they necessarily get the respect that they are due. Just they've had 2 weeks to kind of put it all together, and so far they're climbing.
Yeah, so I think they have like really messy games, but they're pulling it together. I think their new mid is pretty good. And according to sources, I heard their support is pretty cracked, could be best support in the league. And they're also playing Art of War this week, so it's kind of like they're really favored in this matchup.
Like a freebie. All right. That's
I wouldn't say that. My Metashift's my GOAT.
Yeah? Okay, I need to have Metashift on the show because him and I need to have an argument. We gotta tough it out real quick because I swear that guy is protesting in every game I watch. He is just protesting his team on
a little
repeat.
bit.
But yeah. So kind of gonna move on. We've got Velder here for the Akuma Sabers. Now, you guys obviously lost last week against Mars. This time you're going up against Omega Goobers, which is another top 2 team. Actually, just right now, I mean, we're looking at the standings. They are the second place team. How are you kind of coming into this series and wanting to face up against them?
I think we're very confident. I'm sure somebody has looked at their team and planned some bans and picks for us. I hope.
Your 1 million coaching staff, your 1 million people on your coaching staff have
Our
probably
coaching
done their
staff
job.
is actually there and real and does stuff for sure. I feel like we're pretty confident. We've had like 10 days of scrims since last week, you know.
Nice.
Putting in a lot of work. 10 scrims, 7 days.
Jesus.
Coffee's hard on us. He's been pushing us really hard.
Yeah, I mean, kind of talk about last week's match a little bit. I know we were talking about it before the show, but what kind of happened versus Mars? And we'll kind of, Chris, I'll get your opinion on this in a little bit afterwards. But how are we, like, what went on in that match?
I think we just had a bad week. I don't really remember how scrims went before the actual match, but yeah, just a few of us were playing poorly compared to normal, and we just tossed some games for no reason. And I kind of got exposed as well. Game 3, pretty hard.
Chris, how are you? Like, what went on last week in that match?
I think so. The first game, our top laner had a very, very good game, and the third game, our Mars had a really good game. But I will say the Akuma top laner Basting, he kind of had a bad day, which is kind of unusual. But you know, bad days happen.
For sure. I mean, Mars on Silas, bro. Every time you guys get to game 3, I see a Silas, and this guy just like puts it on the field. This guy's
That's
actually like a professional. Exactly.
My glorious king.
We've got our third match, Elysium Ares versus TPF Tempest. Chief, kind of been unfortunate. I've been dodging you on the show so far, but we got a lot of time to make up for it. You are the TPF representative, and I've been the TPF representative on the show every time we don't have someone from the team. So kind of walk us through, how's the team been feeling? How are you guys feeling coming into the match today?
We're feeling pretty good. Like you said, we came off a win. That is without saying, like, Elysium Ares is definitely a good team. They haven't, like you mentioned, they haven't lost a series. I think until like the second or first week where they played against Final Boss Diamond, and they also lost to Akuma Sabers. But since then, they haven't lost a single series. So I mean, they're definitely going to be a big test for us. But I definitely think they're close to that tier of Omega Goobers. They're definitely in that tier, and if we can beat Omega Goobers, I think we definitely have a chance against Elysium Ares.
Yeah. Kind of talk us for everybody who may have not had the opportunity to kind of watch your games last week. What happened against Omega Goobers? Because I think coming in, you guys have had a bit of the big thing for me is I think that Flame has been the best top laner in the entire league, and going up against a team that has, your team in particular, that has had a few different top laners so far. What was kind of the feeling throughout the match, and kind of going through, like, after a game 1 victory, you guys have to be thinking, okay, well, if we can put it together, right? Like, we can win 1 game, you can win 2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, game 1, I believe Omega Goobers actually had a significant gold lead. They took Baron and they were ahead, but we were able to clutch out some big fights and wipe them, and eventually clinch out the game. And game 2, I could definitely tell that Omega Goobers was not happy of the results of game 1, especially since they were like significantly ahead. But they still played extremely well second game, and generally I would say like the biggest difference was probably like a draft difference, since game 1 they had that gold lead, they were in a good position to win, but we were just able to win those fights and end on them.
Awesome. I'm excited to see more of you guys succeed. I've said every week so far that when we talk about your team, it's just like you guys are one step off of like really kind of putting it all together and making that push to be, a better team in the standings. So I'm excited you guys were able to take a win from a top team, and hopefully you guys can do it here today. Although I'm sorry, the Elysium Ares buff, I think that their run is just too good right now. I think they're playing really, really strong, and despite my own, I never thought I would say this. Again, this is another situation where if you told me 4 weeks ago I'm saying Susurration's playing decently in top lane, I would have laughed. But he's finally getting it, man. I think mostly it's because teams are still banning Smolder, which sure, like they've been flexing it to multiple different roles, but I think saturation on some of these champions was really looking quite weak, and I think now is when they're kind of hitting their stride. So excited to see what you guys put up on the field, and really excited to kind of watch this file afterwards. Our next game, GBC versus XG. Chris 10, you're the only person voting XG Leviathan. You got to give it to me. What's the sauce here?
Bro, I just think GBC, their mental has broken down like recently, and I think XG is not that bad at all. So
Sure,
I just think
I can agree
XG
with that
can
last
pull it
point.
out, and something will happen. I hope so, at least.
I hope so. I mean, I will admit GBC has not looked like the same beast since like week 4, basically, when they were able to kind of pull it together. They remember week 4 they're 3-1. It is now going into week 8, and they are 3-4. They've lost 3 weeks in a row. They lost Drid, so yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about this team. I'm kind of going off of the fact that I do think bar for bar, band for band, the players in general from GBC have shown better performances compared to XG. But anything could happen, and I think there's a very big possibility that I think maybe we can have this talk on the show. Do we think GBC are going to make playoffs? There's a potential that they could get knocked out. Same thing with Final Boss Diamond, right? Those two teams are currently in 5th and 6th, and they could very easily fall down a little bit more. Chief, if you want to talk a little bit more, do you have any opinions on this?
Obviously, yeah, considering my team's position, that is like what I am hoping for, that Grumboy's Click does fall out of the top 6. It's definitely very possible. And I think Chris Paten's prediction isn't even that bad, considering like I only think Grumboy's Click has like a little bit of an advantage over XG. Considering they're basically like, it's either this game or next game that could knock them out of the top 6. So I think like Grumboy's Click is gonna get their stuff together and try and clutch it out. So I think they will win today.
Oh, all right. I'm totally chill with that. Again, we'll kind of talk about this. I want to talk about our standings after we kind of finish this one up. Across the board, though, for our last match, Mars and the 4 Awards versus Final Boss Diamond. I mean, Crisp, you wanna sell? You wanna sell me on this?
It's my team. We've got a ton of prep ready for this game. I got some spicy picks ready.
You got that Ash, you got the Ziggs.
Yeah, yo, don't get my shots out. Come on.
Yeah, man. No, it's fine. That's fine. This is just the same champions every week. It's okay. It's fearless. It happens. Yeah, I think Final Boss Diamond have just not looked the same, and they've been really slipping through the standing. Honestly, they were kind of doing a little poorly, but we were willing to give them, benefit of the doubt. And then Coffee made the banger of all time and put it in general chat, and it's just not been the same. It's just not been the same for them. Same thing for a Final Boss, actually. They started in week 3. They were 3-1, and now we're going into week 8, and they are currently 4-3. So they've won 1 game in the last 4 weeks. So let's kind of go to our schedule I kind of want to look at the standings for our league right now. Is a little bit more important than taking a look at our power rankings. So big thing that we're kind of looking at here is the 5th and 6th spot right now. Both of these teams, Grumboy's Click and Final Boss Diamond, are a single game away from each other. And I think we talked about this last week, that coming into playoffs, it is more than likely going to be the case. 3 wins are going to be what makes or breaks your team to be able to make it into top 6. So I also don't think that these points are updated for Omega Goobers. Yeah, it isn't. Omega Goobers should be 5-2. TPF Tempest should be 2-5. They should be in that 6th. They're also in the 7th place spot, so I have their points kind of offhand right now. If we look at Final Boss Diamond, GBC, and TPF, it's 32, 25, and then 24. So TPF Chief, you guys are really close to kind of cutting it into
Yep.
to playoffs when we're talking about your schedule. So I kind of want to go down the list here. Chief, if there's any team that you think is probably going to drop out of top 6, who is it and why?
I mean, it has to be Grim Boys Click because one, there's currently like a 1 point difference. And
Yeah.
two, I mean, like everybody said, unfortunately, they lost some of their key players like Dread in the jungle, and they have had some tough times getting wins. So it has to be them. Final Boss Diamond is ahead in enough points that I think even if they like lose any of their next series, they could probably still remain in the top 6.
Yeah, that's really fair. I will say GBC do have probably the easiest schedule out of anybody because their last week also includes Art of War. So it's, unless Art of War just show up and decide to play Ultimate Spoiler, they become FlyQuest, but this time they actually win the series. I could see it happening. There's a possibility. Kind of going down, Crisp. If there is a team out of top 6 that you think that is currently our top 6 that is going to be dropping out, who is it?
Yeah, so originally it was going to be GBC, but yeah, as you said, Art of War. And honestly, I think Final Boss, depending on like if it's like 2-1s or 2-0s for certain matchups, they definitely have a chance to get dropped out because, I mean, they play if the predictions go right tonight, we would beat them, right? And then they play against Omega last week, and that's like a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah, that'll be. I think the biggest thing, kind of like what you said, for the fact that their strength of schedule is going to be a little bit different. For Final Boss, it's Mars and Omega Goobers, like you were saying. And the big thing for me is them being able to actually win in a 2-0. Like you were saying, the difference between 2-0 and 2-1 is a single point. But when you're talking about, let's say, Kediment, or we're talking about TPF Tempest, 6 points is a massive difference for them. And if they can, and if Chief, for your team, if we're talking about you're taking 2-2-0s over the next 2 weeks, then suddenly you have plus 12 points. You're at 30. You're not going to be able to match Final Boss Diamond, but if they're kind of lower in the standings, and we're talking also about head-to-head and certain stuff like that, there's a very real possibility we see either of these two teams coming in. Felder, I know we've kind of been missing out a little bit on you. Which two of these teams, because it seems like we're mostly focusing on Final Boss and Grum Boys, which one of these two do you think is not going to be able to make playoffs?
From looking at the points, I think they're probably both going to make playoffs, honestly. Like, if you said GBC is playing against Art of War next week, then I don't know. I just don't see either of those two teams losing.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Final Boss Diamond has like a really hard match next week.
I mean, it's Omega Goobers, right? So, I mean, depending on what happens today.
Also, I'm like looking, why does Final Boss Diamond have more points than third and, or like Aries and
They had a lot of
Goobers?
2-0s. They had a lot of 2-0s. That's
But so
going
they
to be a
don't
big...
get to be higher than them?
No, because it's the way that points are breaking, the way that standings are, it's based on your overall series record, your game record, and then points.
Gotcha.
Points are really big, but if you just have a better record, then you're going to be ahead of them in the standings. So, yeah. So, looking forward to kind of see what we. Yeah. Hey, look. If they go 0, if Final Boss goes 0-2-0, if they go 0-4 in the next 2 weeks, then it's a bit GG'd, right? They get what, 4 points in total, which is not great, but yeah. Let's kind of. I wanted to move on just a little bit, just because we have taken a look at the schedule and more so look at the two teams that we're going to be talking about today. We do have Omega Goobers and Akuma, who are going to be our teams. This is our number 1 versus our number 2 seeded team right now. And Velder, I kind of wanted to ask, like, coming into this, obviously, I know you were kind of joking about like your staff members who definitely do their jobs throughout the week. Was there any mental preparation you kind of done coming into the series against this team?
Personally, or our team?
We'll do personally, just because we do have you here.
No.
Nice, man. Do you know anything about Midnight?
I don't normally prepare for these games. Yeah, I've played against Midnight a couple times, like in... Wait, was it Titan? I'm not sure. I think I played against him in Titan and also in scrims. And yeah, I think he's a solid player. But I think overall we're a better team, so it doesn't really matter.
Look, you guys have a very close average game time. If you look at your win-loss breakdown, you're also pretty close. I think this is a pretty fair match. Chief, did you have any thoughts coming into this series? I know we have all Akuma across the board, but it seems like this last week, the last 2 weeks, we've had some pretty big upsets. So
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been big upsets, like Kediment upsetting Final Boss Diamond. But
correct.
the thing is, like, we've played against Omega Goobers, and they definitely are a good team. Like, that is just the truth. But I think Akuma Sabers is just on another level, and you can tell because I mean, some of their players don't need to take it as seriously to even achieve these results.
Mhm.
Which I mean, I think that tells you a lot about like the level Akuma Sabers is at compared to the other teams. So I just think it's going to be a clean win for Akuma Sabers, and both teams they're not in really like that big danger. So I don't really see an upset happening here.
So I wanted to actually ask both you, Chief, as well as Chris 10. You guys are two teams. You're both of your teams have faced off against both of these guys. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, what do you think is the strongest part of their game that you've recognized? It might have been a while since some of you have played, but if there's anything that you can remember, like the toughest part of being able to play against both of these teams, we can kind of start with you, Chief, since we just had you. So let's kind of focus from left to right here. For Omega Goobers, what do you think was kind of the toughest part about playing against them? I know you just had your match.
Toughest part about Omega Goobers, I mean, I think it was less so the drafting part. I think the toughest part about playing against them was their team play in game. I think they were like extremely consistent team. I believe like even in the bot lane when we had like a good matchup, their bot lane was able to like really keep it together, and like I think we had like pretty low kill games. So I think like Omega Goobers is like a team that like really keeps it together. They won't let games like go in a negative state like too early or get out of control. So for I would say that for Omega Goobers. On the other hand, I think Akuma Sabers is like, after talking to Coffee, right? Like their drafting, I think is definitely one of their stronger aspects compared to the other teams. I
Yeah.
mean, they really understand the draft and how what they need to do to win. So yeah, that's what I'd say the strengths of each team is.
Awesome. And Chris, I know it's been a while. So the last time you played against
first week
Omega
one,
was
Omega.
yeah. So if you don't
I have some
remember
things,
much,
though.
but still.
So their team, yeah, they have like a really good team play. I think Source Walker is the best jungler in the league. He beat my jungler, so obviously it's
Okay. Fair play. Fair play.
They play like really like slower tempo, like full clear, and then they just kind of win off their like leads and stuff, which is kind of good. But the thing is that I think they're gonna lose to Akuma because Coffee, he plays like really high tempo and then brings his team like a lot of leads early, and they kind of just win straight, like just hand stiff. It's like not really Omega's kind of like style, and like they get countered by it.
Okay, fair play. I mean, that's basically kind of the style that we've seen Akuma use every time we see them, right? Which is the fact that they're going to show up to an objective, they're going to play for the objective, and either you're going to play ball on their court or you're just going to have to go home. You're going to have to go do something else and get something else on the map. And that's typically been the biggest struggle for a lot of teams is they get caught in that weird spot where they're like, okay, well, do we want to really contest for grubs? Do we want to play on the opposite side of the map? And by the time they make that decision, it's already wrong. They've already lost the objective. They're winning on side lane for the most part. And I have to agree with you, Chief. I think that they have a really coherent draft strategy for the most part in most of their games. And the losses that we have seen from them, and even some of the games where, to be honest, Vailder, I'm sure you can attest to this. Some of those games you should have lost. You probably should have lost at least another game during this regular season.
I think
a couple
we
of
probably
times.
should have lost 3 games at least.
Yeah. There are a lot of random Akuma wins where I'm like, yeah, okay, man, the plot armor is just too thick for the rest of the season. So,
For sure.
yeah, I love what you guys are able to do, and I think the thing that I love about Omega Goobers, it's kind of like what you guys were saying, mostly the fact that they are a little bit of a slower team, but when we talk about how I think robust some of their individual laners are, it makes it really easy for someone like Source Walker to jungle because you can trust that your laners are going to be able to execute, as well as putting certain people who are really, really important into good spots. And that's where my head-to-head coming into this series is going to be. We have Flame versus Basting. I need Basting to change his name already, please. I know he changed it. In the client. We got to get it updated for stats.
What's wrong with
I'm
that?
so glad that I have missed a Basting game where I didn't have to say his name. We're just going to keep it like that. I'm not going to even acknowledge it.
I think you mentioning Source Walker is very true. Like in game 2 when we played against some Mega Goobers, like he was probably the only one who was like still deathless, like huge gold lead, and really like, keeping his team together on his Wukong pick. So like if we're I'm sorry, if you really expect an upset, you really should look at their jungler, Source Walker. He's going to be the one to upset, I think.
Correct. We've got kind of our head-to-head here. Big thing for me is Flame is just this might turn into a Flame glazing session, so I apologize for anybody who doesn't like this guy, but he is one of the most consistent top laners, and I think that's what I respect about him so much. He is in a lot of positions kind of the person that has to make a really big play to try to win his team the game, but they do give him, he not only operates with those tools by himself, but is also able to be a really competent side laner. The parts where I think Omega Goobers does tend to kind of fall apart is when the whole map is kind of failing. Either Midnight's not in a great position or their bottom lane has made a pretty big critical failure, and Flame overexerts themselves to make a big play. And that sometimes can become an issue where Flame's like, okay, well, I'm the only person that's going to be relevant in this game, so I have to collect side lane, and then, oh, I also have to be here for this TP. So sometimes Flame, I think, kind of lets it get to him. And my criticism for Basting is, while this guy has a really explosive laning phase and has been a great team fighter for most of the league, I think individually he has been one of the most greedy top laners, and I think you're allowed to do that when you're on the best team, but when everything else is falling apart and you're a greedy player and maybe you fail the hands check, we get what happened last week, which Basting, I mean, he had a pretty okay game too coming into that series, but that entire set, Dwamni was putting it on him, bro. He was unfortunate for Basting. He was getting it rough, and you can kind of see that reflected in the stats for both of these guys. Their gold diff at 15 is massive. Their CSD at 15, I think, is also really impressive when you talk about other top laners and how much we're talking about generating gold for yourself and making sure that you're important in the game. This has been I think our top 2 top laners coming into the league, and I'm really excited to see what we get from this match tonight. As we kind of close out the rest of the show, Chief, Crisp, Vailder, is there any kind of topics that we may have missed before we kind of close out?
I think it's pretty good. I think TPF Tempest will have a really high chance of making playoffs if they win this series tonight.
Yeah.
And I think the last week, depending on some results, I think last week will like actually determine the 6th spot for playoffs.
Yeah, it's really tentative. I will say I think our top 4 is probably locked already. I am not going to do the math on that, but I'm just gonna trust the standings that they're doing fine. Chief, we'll kind of start off with you. Any shout outs you want to do before we close out?
I mean, obviously, I'd like to shout out my team, for sticking through these, tough series. I'd also like to shout out Coffee Beans. I think he's definitely been a lot of motivation for our team and has helped us a lot. So, I'd say those are the people I'd like to shout out.
Awesome. Vailder, anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'll just shout out my entire team since they've been carrying me through this entire split. I'm a fraud. There's actually one other thing I wanted to talk about. I just didn't get a word in. I feel like we're going to be looking way better these next 2 weeks too. I hope I am not trolling saying that, because me and Basing, we're both doing like a true fearless type of thing. I know I talked to you about it a couple times.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was skewing our stats and like kind of screwing up a lot of our games before, like the ones you were talking about we should have lost. So I think now that we're going to be like locking in and playing our champs so we know how to play, I think we'll look even better, hopefully, as a team.
For sure. For anybody who's maybe not in the loop, Vailder and Basting were doing more of a true fearless, so every week they're picking a new champion. This is something that I knew about pretty early on in the season, but they were, they wanted to keep it a little bit hush hush. And I was like, look, if anybody's not going to be checking like how many champions these guys are playing, then that's on them, especially since we're towards the end of the season. So you guys did say like, hey, once we get into playoffs, we're not going to be doing this dumb true fearless stuff. We're going to try and lock it in. So I'm excited. I'm glad that you kind of used your shout out to make sure that anybody who had lower Akuma stocks coming into this week, you're like, guys, hold the stocks. Do not sell. We're going to get even better. We're going to stop trolling some drafts. Chris, last word before we go off.
I just want to, shout out my glorious King Mars in the mid lane, our true like carry, the light in our darkness, all that, burns bright, and my team, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we kind of close out, we didn't get to unfortunately have the actual graphics. We won't be able to show it on the show, but it will be posted later on in either Diamond General or the announcements for the server. But I did want to give a shout out for our players of the week. We had Dwomni, OP Killswitch, Tough Daddy, Dark Lord Oswald, and Cray Dog. So didn't have, unfortunately, I couldn't get any of the Omega games in just because they were literally yesterday. So sorry to everybody on TPF Tempest and Omega who may have wanted to try to get on the list. But there was unfortunately also there were a lot of low elo games last week. So I don't feel particularly great about giving 3 players from a single team kind of player of the week. But from the games that I was able to watch, and they were also our streamed match, these guys were awesome, and if anybody in the Diamond General wants to talk about it a little bit more in depth, I'd be happy to go through some of the criteria that I had. So exciting stuff. Really thankful for you guys to come on the show this week, and good luck for all of your matches. And we're going to kick it to a short break, and when we're back, we're going to have Omega Goobers versus Akuma Sabers.
And welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Blue Otter Diamond League's Week 8 series. Here on display will be Omega Goobers and Akuma Sabers, two of the relatively top teams in this league, coming into the business end of the season. I'm Isaac. Alongside me is Alt Battery, and we have two teams coming into this one who had a little bit of a hiccup last week. Alt Battery.
Yeah, they both lost. They are our two top teams in the standings right now. So coming into this week, someone's got to break the very, very minuscule losing streak. Akuma Sabers has been, before this week, our undefeated team. And unfortunately, they did take 2 full losses last week. So excited to see what's happening. But before we finish the draft, Isaac, welcome back to the show. We didn't have you for 2 weeks, so wanted to welcome you back more officially.
Thank you.
But kind of moving through our bans, the Urgot one, a pick immediately trying to take away from Basting, and unfortunately, we're not going to see Jax or the Master Yi coming out from our Lord Sourcewalker. So sad to see, but I was wondering where the Amumu priority was going to be, because I think this is a champion that is really important to both of the team strategies, as well as, just wanting to be able to push the game forward. I know both of these teams love having their individual go buttons from the jungle.
Yeah, both these junglers do love to be the person who does say go between Sourcewalker and Coffee. I mean, Sourcewalker last week, just as an idea, played both Jarvan and Wukong, both two very much of the we go on as I say kind of thing. And so taking them away is a bit understandable. And now Galio, the Callum pick, into Hui, though, is something I've seen a little bit rising in a popularity in recent weeks, I will say.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm wondering why Galio is going to be picked right now, as Galio did just receive a nerf on this patch, taking a pretty fat chunk of his mana bar early on. It's kind of interesting to me, but seems like Akuma are kind of moving towards a very easy to execute strategy. Jarvan, Galio, you get the circle comps, and you just lay them over top of each other. This does mean that we're going to be seeing more of a dive composition, hopefully from the side of Akuma, which does require for them to have more aggressive units. Now, kind of looking back towards the bans, I love the LeBlanc and Kaisa. You've taken out 2 separate tools for them to kind of operate on this draft, and now Akuma gonna have to try something a little bit different, and I'm wondering where that Galio is going to be going, because at Worlds we've been seeing it more as a top lane counter, but if this is kind of going in the mid lane, then we're still giving a lot of agency, I think, to our 2 top laners who are our head-to-head match coming into the series.
Absolutely. Basting and Flame almost undisputed the number 1 and 2 top laners, I would say respectively, though that is kind of debatable on who you ask.
Hey, I have Flame number 1. I said it on Otter Talk. I think Flame is the best top laner in the league. This guy is bar none most consistent. I think he makes the most amount of plays. I think he's also able to... He's a really strong laner by himself, which is something that we can't say for every single one of our top laners here in the league. So I've just loved how Flame has been playing, and I think giving him Cassante, a champion that has so many tools to be able to carry a game by himself, is awesome to see.
Yeah, and part of of last week, even though Omega Goobers, they did get 2-0'd by TPF Tempest, which does keep their season alive on that. Last week he was not given that Cassante, and I suspect that we might just see why he wasn't given Cassante at all.
Yeah.
I guess actually yesterday.
It was literally yesterday. Yeah, I was like harassing them.
That game was delayed. Yeah.
It was so funny. I think I had someone from Omega on Otter Talk last week, and they were like, I was like, hey, are you guys excited to play? And he's like, yeah, our match is actually rescheduled to next Wednesday. And I was like, dude. Really?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine, whatever. As long as it happens before playoffs. But yeah, when we got the raffle file last night, I was like, I'm not gonna have time to watch this before the show tomorrow. I let Chief know when we had him on Otter Talk. I was like, okay, look, I'm not gonna be able to watch your game. I'm sorry. I'll watch it after this week. But we've got a lot of cool things happening on the back end of this draft. Sivir, a champion that received a buff this patch for her Q, does a lot more damage this time, so maybe we see something a little bit more alongside those lines. But I like what Omega have already started to draft for themselves. They have the Hui, which alongside a Cassante, alongside a Wukong, definitely pairs very well. Now, Zach looks like it's going to be going top lane. We have seen Basting pick this champion up. So Akuma, they just want to run straight forward. Omega,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of options here. I think a Xayah or Khan would do very, very well. I would hate to play Ashe in this game. Ashe versus Jarvan versus Zac. This is just absolutely miserable. I think playing Xayah, Rakan with these two would be perfect. If we're talking about other AD carries that can maybe do something, Ezreal being taken away, I think, was a very good idea from a side of Akuma Sabers.
Yeah, obviously Ezreal having the arcane shift being it would be absolutely killer against this composition. They would have to commit a lot just onto that. But Ashe Rel will be the lock-in for Omega Goobers, and I'm fine with the Rel, but Ashe is definitely a little bit more of on the questionable side of things. But as we move over to the side of Akuma Sabers, I mean, Sivir can definitely do a lot of damage once she does get online, once she does get her items, but I'm still looking like, where does the rest of that damage come in on the side of the Akuma Sabers? Who do they go for here as the B5?
Oh, is Galio support?
Oh,
okay.
Very well, yeah, it is Galio support, which I honestly not too disappointed in, because just generally, like I said, the amount of damage, I was in my mind, I was like, Galio mid, Jarvan jungle, Zac top. Who do they like? What's the options? But shifting that support into Rel also isn't exactly the worst matchup ever for Galio either.
The issues that I think that they're going to start to kind of jump into when we talk about this game, when we look at it from the side of Akuma, is they do have consistent damage. They have the Sivir, they have Azir, Jarvan, as well as Zac the Galio. These three kind of pair are going to be there for really that engaged, to be able to set them up. The thing that I'm looking at it from the Omega Goober side is how effective can this Ashe be? Because if we're playing it from a situation where Akuma are making the first step, that Ashe is just dead. And now we're really relying on Hui combos, which do take a little bit of time. You have to wait for cooldowns. Wukong is going to be really ineffective. I thought maybe if this was going to be a Galio mid, Alistar on support here actually goes insane versus Wukong versus the Rel. The matchup there is awesome. Now that we're kind of getting into this and we kind of see where everyone lays out, I still now really favor Omega Goobers here. They still have consistent amount of damage. You have push in mid versus Azir. You're also able to outrange him here. So a lot of the team fight tools are there for the side of Omega Goobers, but Akuma Sabers have been no slouches. They've been very, very aggressive in the early game, and as long as they can kind of stay one step ahead of their opponents, this could be a really good game for them.
Yeah, if they, they do set up that vision. They do have to be on the front foot though, and that's if there is any team who can get on the front foot consistently every single game, it is Akuma Sabers. So I don't doubt that, but I would also, I would agree that if I was playing this out myself, I would prefer to be on the Omega Goober side, just given that little bit extra, I guess, versatility is the real way to put it. Akuma Sabers, they have one thing. We've got one thing to look forward to from them.
And that's kind of okay, right? We just had Vailder on the show, and just knowing Coffee as a gamer and themselves kind of either hanging out in the general chat or talking to them privately, they're a person that's going to drag their team to an objective. We talked about it in one of the reasons they actually lost is the fact that they really wanted to fight for Grubs in that game versus Mars, and unfortunately, pulling everybody to go play for the Grubs, they lose out on that fight. They lose pretty heavily thanks to the composition that they had with a Taric on the opposite side. So for Akuma, this is definitely a draft that I think fits them stylistically. You have Matt G on something that's going to be able to help wave clear and also still be a strong team fighter. You have Basting with the ability to engage and have a strong enough laning phase. Zac versus Cassante is a perfectly fine lane matchup that you can play for yourself. My worry is how one-dimensional it can be. If they do start to fall behind, Omega Goobers are not a team that kind of falls apart at the seams when we talk about strong laning phases. So my worry here is what happens when that doesn't work, when Jarvan is set behind, when something maybe goes awry. If everything goes to plan, then yeah, Akuma Sabers can run over and we'll be talking about this game like it was a freebie. But for Omega Goobers, I kind of want to see how much resistance they're going to be showing in this game, because they have so many tools to be able to start fights that I think it might be a little bit difficult for Akuma if they either get off balance or they're not on the right page when we talk about setting up for objectives.
Well, we'll have to look forward to see how Akuma Sabers presses any sort of advantage they can garner over Omega Goobers, or with Omega Goobers can come back and sustain said pressure. And both these teams again coming off of two very surprise results last week in the wrong way. So we'll have to see who bounces back harder, whether that be Akuma Sabers or Omega Goobers. But we'll have to wait for that until after the spectator delay. So don't go anywhere. We will be back very momentarily. and we have loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between Omega Goobers and Akuma Sabers. If you're just tuning in, hello, thank you for joining us today. For Blue Water Diamonds Week 8. And just a few things, since it doesn't look like we're going to be getting too much here outside of 5 points from both teams. A few ramifications that this series has, Ulk Battery, is that if Akuma Sabers do win this series at all, they do qualify for, not qualify for players, they secure a top spot in the regular season going regardless of what happens next week. It's a little bit of a fun fact there.
Yeah. Honestly, they've performed so well throughout the regular season. They were almost undefeated the entire way through. They made sure that they were kind of getting games done, and while I don't agree, and I think they can obviously attest to this, we had some of them come on to Otter Talk throughout the season that some of their games were not the cleanest and they were still able to win them out. I think the losses last week shouldn't have affected them all that much. They're still a team that's probably going to be, at the very least, even if they do lose out here, they're going to be top 2, top 3, and a team that we are expecting to see make it towards the end of playoffs and potentially even win the whole thing. So I'm excited to see what a kind of more focused Akuma Sabers might look like for playoffs. But even aside from that, Omega Goobers have been a team that slowly started to ramp up throughout the season and have been, again, having the best top laner, in my opinion, in the entire league, and still kind of making magic happen throughout the weeks.
It's a bit funny. It's a bit funny that, though, is that our top 4 here in Blue Water Diamond, I mean, other than Akuma Sabers, like second to fourth, we're all definitely not really. They've definitely more so ramped up than kind of are there at the start of the year. I mean, Omega Goobers are kind of there, but Mars in the Four Worlds and Elysium Ares specifically as well. I don't think anybody really had them. Maybe Mars, but not Elysium Ares in this sort of top 4 position. All separated by 2 points between the 3. So, doing really well there.
They're all 5-2, which is insane, but also, like you're saying, the point differential that kind of makes up for that, and the kind of the difference in their storylines. Omega Goobers has been a team that has been really consistent throughout the entire season. Mars in the 4 Awards, after a couple weeks, they finally got their roster together. And Elysium Ares, sort of a similar story where their roster came together towards the end of the season, and they're all making end of season surges. I mean, Elysium Ares is like on a 5-week win streak right now, which is really impressive for them, and we'll kind of see what that looks like after this week and also coming into next week potentially as we get towards the end of our regular season. Still have 2 weeks, still have this week and next week to play. We have 9 weeks of our regular season playoffs, but both junglers now ending on the bottom side of the map. We see that Coffee not going for our typical Jarvan 3 camps into a gank, but going for a full clear here, making sure that he's ready and available. This bottom lane wave is ready for a crash, but I assume that they're more likely just going to be utilizing the bottom lane pressure so that they can secure bottom scuttle.
Yeah, as you say that, literally right as you say that, it is going to be Source Walker moving right onto that Scuttle Crab, and Coffee not going to really deal with that at all, is understandably so. So as the junglers move to the opposite side of the map, it's a little bit of a difficult ganking situation towards this bottom side. Maybe perhaps Akuma Coffee. He's changed his username again, guys. He's done it again.
I'm okay with that. Look, Coffee. I'm okay with Akuma Coffee. There's only so many letters you can use. I'm honestly a little bit sad that we're not getting Sun and Stars and Vailder to kind of move their names over to try to match the AKM, have the tricode in their names. Now, I love this coming up from Source Walker. He took all of his camps. He took his bottom side scuttle. He knows top lane is super volatile right now. This is part of the Zac matchup, is the fact that Zac is a resourceless champion, and up against a early game Cassante, you can really take advantage of this. The one thing that I do want to applaud Omega in this early game is the fact that they've put early vision down into the enemy jungle so they can track Coffee. As long as they know where this Jarvan is, you take away a lot of the threat of this champion. So really good job for them to make sure that they have 2 separate wards and making sure they can track the enemy jungle, and that allows for their laners to keep with a little bit of a stabilization. So Source Walker, off of his recall, he went towards top side, saying maybe I have to cover for this wave that's bouncing back. I do expect for him to have to kind of recall after this, as the wave is going to slowly push away, and he doesn't know where Jarvan is at this moment.
Yeah, and you mentioned with the vision, especially before, and Jarvan, is that especially before level 6, Akuma, as we've seen around, Coffee's been kind of struggling to find any sort of He's given a...
Ooh, this is really tricky. They sent the hawk shot over to his Krugs. They think that he's on the bottom side of the map, but he could show up for this dive, and this wave is pushing away from him. This could be a monstrous win for the side of Akuma.
Is definitely moving into this. Does get the ward down now. Akuma, I mean, Coffee, going to be a little bit delayed there, and actually just going to have to move away. It's a bit of an odd decision. He's still camping around. I mean, so long as Flame knows that Coffee's there, which he does, he did get that vision now momentarily.
I mean, he should just be looking at his mana bar. Basting now has level 6, also has the ultimate.
And
they can go for this play. He doesn't have enough ult.
They're going to try to go for it now. Flag drag there, flash away from Flame. And he does manage to stay alive for now. Does manage to avoid that out. And does, well, it's perhaps a little bit too early from the side of Coffee as... Sun and Stars was also on the way up to support, but at the very least it will secure the grubs for them and be a trade of grubs for Drake.
That was a good job. I mean, that right there from Coffee, I think they should have, like you said, gone a little bit sooner, not only because they know Flame has 120 mana, that means he can only press his ultimate if he really wants to go for it, or he has to be able to trade, but it's both of his summoners and them prioritizing for the grubs. This is what happens when you have a winning topside matchup. You want to make sure that you get those 6 grubs. And talking even about a little bit about the patch, they did just change bounties. Grubs don't contribute as much, but I wonder how much this is actually going to come to bear as we're looking for a dive here. Source Walker
going to be a little bit of trouble here, going to flash away for that. Now Turret Trot's going down, and this fort has ride from Sun and Stars. They're only going to be the clone taunted up for now, and so Matt G will have to use his flash there as well as Sun and Stars going around, so no flashes there in the bottom lane for the side of Akuma Sabers, but still alive nonetheless.
A big win here for the side of Omega Goobers as they got both flashes from the bottom lane of Akuma. And during all of this, Source Walker was still able to grab at least one of the camps. He stole away the wolves.
Flame's going to go all out, perhaps going to try to find at least the passive onto Basting. Hops away, doesn't actually get taken down for now. And meanwhile, the counter here is from Coffee. Flag drag, not going to find the knock up there onto Flame. And that'll be that segment done. Wait, crash
went all in here.
Sun and Stars going low. Won't be able to Justice Punch away for now. Sun and Stars low and down. Joss going to have to flash away now as Matt G does have full health, but without any mana remaining, will use the spell
they win this!
to prevent the stun. Does get the first kill. Joss will be able to trade it back, but at the very least, despite Sun and Stars going down very early, it will be a trade of kills there in the back end of that fight. 2 for 1. Slightly advantage over to the side of Omega Goobers.
A great job coming out for Matt G.
Does have the passive.
Look at how much he's healing from his passive. Oh my god.
Alright, Hockey. Sprint over to the mid lane now. Hockey going down. Basting going low, but should be able to heal up a lot on that passive there. Does also have the revive available. So even though Flame does get the health bars low, Coffee coming through. Does have the Cataclysm still and forces the flash out of Source Walker. So all over the mid lane, it is advantage to the side of Akuma Sabers now, getting a further victory there through the mid jungle duo.
So one thing that we didn't really kind of talk about during the draft was the fact that you are going to be playing Hui into Jarvan and Azir, which means if you do not have flash in mid lane, you're going to get Azir shuffled, you're going to get Jarvan comboed. That is just how the matchup should be going. And while Hockey did save his flash, that's still one of the kills going over.
Down from Helper. Vildir will have to flash away from the spiraling despair to keep himself alive. So no flash on the Azir. No flashes on anybody but Basting actually on the side of Akuma Sabers for the next few minutes.
Okay, we've got Krubs coming up in a minute and a half here. Where we see these two teams kind of look to try to push their members is going to be so important to the state of the game. If they try to find this kill onto Matt G.
He will come through. Justice Punch will knock Helper away, but there's just not anything that Matt G can do without flash as he gets slowed up by the Ashe passive. And that will be a kill going over to the side of Omega Goobers.
So with that kill now, I want to see them push this wave bottom lane and look towards top. You need to stop this team from getting all of those grubs. You still have a minute, so you can have a little bit of alone time. We see that Coffee is here early just to try to prioritize getting on the spot, getting the scuttle here, and getting vision down. As long as they can be here for this fight, they're going to be in a great position. They have Ashe ultimate as well ready to go. They'll have Source Walker with his ult. There's no flashes on either jungler here, so it's going to be a bit of a tricky fight. You see Omega Goobers are starting to move out on their members. Galio can even late recall like we see here and join through mid. This is going to be an important fight. I need Akuma. Can they actually kind of get these 6 grubs? If they do, it'll be such a good advantage for them once we get later into the game.
Yeah, and with that, both supports are moving towards the top side of this map. Sun and Stars does have the hero's entrance to kind of maybe surprise a little bit from distance. And Flag and Drag will find his way on to Helper, who does get caught out by Coffee for now. Does have to use a crash down to get away, and it will be a positional advantage onto these grubs for the side of Akuma Sabers. But I don't suspect...
Basting needs to be careful here. He can die. He gets soloed.
Yes, he can. He doesn't have the passive available. All out going to be used by Flame. Here comes Heroic Entrance. Will be enough to save Basting. The hills come through. Flame's going low. Flame is going down, and it's last minute stuff. A chance of Crystal Arrow from across the map, though. We'll find the jungler of Coffee getting taken down. So now no smite available for the side of Akuma Sabers. Veildir getting low. The Inverse Divide not finding anyone. Helper doing a lot here, and that'll be another kill going on the side of Omega Goobers, and it is Omega from the side of Goobers. Nothing there that the rest of Akuma Sabers can find on the back end of that fight, preventing all 6 grubs going over to the side of Akuma Sabers, as well as advancing that gold league even further than what they've had.
It feels a little bit weird because on one hand, Akuma still got 4 grubs, so they'll be able to have those Void Mites come in when they crash onto turrets, but I mean, Basing just ruined the entire play for them. He's over-trading on top side. Yes, they're able to kind of take down Flame in that instance, but it causes for Coffee to have to move over. It causes Sun and Stars to have to use his ultimate in that position, so they don't get all 6 grubs. They lose out on a bunch of kills there, and it's a great play coming out from Flame, forcing out on his opponent, and kind of an unforced error coming out from Basting, which was one of the criticisms I had during Otter Talk this week, was saying Basting is a player that is always going to try and hands check you, always going to try and outplay you in the laning phase, and sometimes overplays his hands, does a little bit more than he needs to. Just group with your team, play for the objective, and right there he cost his team 6 grubs.
And they might find a little bit more here. Coffee's in a bit of an odd spot. Sun and Star is going to have to flash
the dragon.
away. The teleport comes down, and that will almost certainly be the Drake going over to the side of Omega Goobers. So as well as they pick up those 2 grubs there, they're also stacking up the Drakes fairly quickly. It's one point after another. We said that in draft that Akuma Sabers would have to find an early advantage, and they're not really finding it now. So the real question is how do they, with this composition, find a way back into this game?
Thankfully, their team comp is very simple. Like, you can probably drool and still hit a 5-man combo at some point. It's going to be 2 plates here for Basting, so getting himself that individual lead is what we expect from a player like this, but he now needs to exert his pressure on the rest of the map. Again, this is a matchup where, yes, you're going to win in laning phase. Cassante still has tools to be able to outplay.
All out drag under the tower. Basting doesn't have his revive available just yet as well. Going to be slowed up there. Basting going low. Will be able to heal quite a bit there as he does use his ultimate.
Oh wait, Veildir can die here. He has there's ultimate here from Hockey. Veildir just used his shuffle. It's a 10-second cooldown right now. If Hockey wants, he can pull his jungler over here, but looks like we're getting a lot more action towards top side. Coffee's on his way. Swordswalker's here as well.
So it's 2v2. Basting is low, does have the revives available. Both junglers will spot each other out. Basting going low for now, as he did say, did have the revive available, coming just back up. Will get taken down momentarily. Can they take down the rest of Basting before he revives? And
there
they
it
will.
is.
Coffee going to find it, and Chance of Crystal Arrow not going to find Coffee just yet, and Veildir will just have to hop away. That will be another kill going over to the side of Omega Goobers, as well as the Rift Herald, most likely.
Exactly, and that was the play that they wanted to go for on the side of Akuma. You need to get the grubs, and they have 4 grubs. Now you need to be able to play for Rift Herald. That right there, alongside the Void Mites, should be able to take down any turret and open up the map just a little bit more for your team. And now we're seeing it, Flame winning the 1v2, playing off with his jungler. Sourcewalker and him are just doing great things in this game, and I love what we're seeing from Omega Goobers, especially when we're talking about what was this league gonna look like? We were saying, okay, is Akuma really just gonna win the entire league undefeated? But we're seeing a lot of our top teams. Last week it was Mars, this time it's Omega, starting to push our #1 seed.
You could even make an argument that on the side of Akuma Sabers is that a lot of the toughest teams they still haven't played. Their next match after this one to close out is Elysium Ares, who currently sit 4th, I believe, is one of the 3 teams on a 5-2 record. So, I know I mean, we were going into this.
Is the league half parity, Isaac? Who'd have thought 4 weeks ago we're talking about Akuma in this
Who would have
position.
thought? Speaking of things we might have thought, Sourcewalk coming up again. Basing doesn't have the revive anymore as well. Going to get slowed up. Will he get out? Probably not. Going down. Sourcewalker gets that one on the other side of this fight. Heroic entrance will try to keep Coffee alive a little bit longer. Joss on the wrong side of this map. Coffee go down in trade though, as a lot of members are sent over to the bottom side of this map. 4 now showing up in that bottom lane for the side of Akuma Sabers to help him out there, but still a 1-for-1 despite the numbers advantage.
And this is a huge trade for them. They get the kill, they get top tier 1, and Hockey in the mid lane, someone that we were kind of like, okay, who is this guy? Is Midnight just taking a break for the week? He gets a large majority of this mid wave. Looks like they're going to go even further in there. Oh no,
he's going to take tower aggro though. That's not what you want in that situation. 2 tower shots in assistance of Veldir will secure that kill onto Hockey. Maybe perhaps a little bit too premature with our statements about how he's been performing.
Look, Hockey, you get 1. That's kind of the matchup we were talking about. If you don't have the flash, even in that sense, still had to use it, still ends up going down. But mid-tier 1 is super, super vulnerable in this instance. And so right there for Omega Goobers, that was 2 turrets and trade for 1. And hey, you win 1 for, you kind of went 2 for 2 across the board. So I think you're happy with that trade. Now we're going to be seeing Omega Goobers deploy out onto the mid lane, take this mid turret, and then we have Dragon in a minute. It'll be sole point for them if they can grab that. And again, Akuma Sabers, they're just feeling a little bit soft right now. They're not really going for the same plays. Coffee's not really in a position to try to make big plays for this. And then again, comes off, I think,
to be
really
taunted up. Akuma
Flame?
Coffee is here. Teleports coming down on both sides about at the same time. Flame and Basting have arrived. Cyclone will be used from the Wukong to have some sort of disruption. Will find 1 kill.
Here's Hockey though.
Immediately. Joss going low, Matt G, and as you said, Hockey is here, but it won't find any kills just yet. Basting going low, can he heal back up in time? Flame on the back line will eventually take down Basting, but where's the support? Where will they find any sort of help? Flame going low,
Q3 here. Oh, nice job, Flame.
Flag drag finds 3. Will it be enough?
What's Coffee doing?
Coffee going low. Only finds 1. Hockey low now, though, as the damage has now arrived on the side of Akuma Sabers. And in an extended fight, it is still fairly even between these 2 teams, but still signs of life for Akuma Sabers, as they do perform fairly well in that really extended skirmish there.
Yeah, they got the fight towards the end. They're able to grab it after all of the cooldowns have already been spent by the side of Omega. But I think for me, the big thing is, I mean, both of our junglers have traded flash, and for me, I would prefer to see Coffee have his flash, have his ultimate. This should be the Dragon going over to Omega Goobers. I think they just have more tools to be able to play with. Their champions generically are going to be a little bit stronger without their ultimates. And unless Veldir wants to join for this fight, he makes a big play. He's going to have to come up huge if he wants to stop this sole point here. Joss going to have that ultimate coming up soon. And Matt G, no flash, no barrier. It is so tough to play Sivir.
They are not going to give it up at all, though, even though the positioning is over to the side. Flag drag for Coffee doesn't have
Here's Veldir.
God! The Empress of Mind finds 3! It's a big start to the fight for Akuma Sabers, and here's the counter side of it. A lot of AoE damage coming from on the side of Omega Goobers. That's going to be Sourcewalk going down, Matt G going low, getting claimed by Goobers. 2 for 2 for now. Helper very low. All these health bars definitely low on the side of both these teams. Veldir and Coffee going to be moving up now.
I think they can win this though, because Ante has ultimate.
For it. Does have the all-out. Will he find for Sun and Stars going for it? Doesn't have any damage. Joss going to pick up that kill onto the enemy support, so numbers advantage over to the side of Omega Goobers, as well as these really low health bars. I mean, on the side of Akuma Sabers, they'll take a miracle to find them forward, but with the
he's gonna look for a re-engage potentially. Yeah, look, the longer that they can hold them, they're just gonna be able to grab mid-tier 1. Fantastic stuff coming out from the side of Omega Goobers. They are pushing our #1 team in the league here in a match that, hey, we were expecting this should be a really close one between these 2. Omega Goobers, unfortunately, have not been able to, just because of the fact that we have single elim, single round robin, we have not been able to see these 2 teams, and I think it is the perfect time to see them. We have an Omega Goobers who are ramping up throughout the entire season. We have an Akuma who have been top dogs all season long, and now we're getting an amazing match. 19, almost 20 minutes in, we have 26 kills, and it is neck to neck right now between these 2.
And we haven't even picked up the trick. We had 2 massive fights around the singular objective, yet neither side is really able to come out on top in either regards. And that's even with the slight advantage over to the side of Omega Goobers in terms of gold. But it will be once again around this Drake. We've got inside positioning on the side of Goobers. Wait, basting, maybe caught out here, but he does have a lot of health, does have the revive. And
Joss,
now
no.
the advantage over to the side of Sabers early on, but here comes the cavalry. Double kill going over to the side of Hockey. Matt G will be able to get away for now. 4v3.
Just do the dragon, guys.
Over to the
Just do
side
the
of
dragon.
Omega Goobers, and they do
All
are,
right.
what the heck? They are moving over to the dragon.
All right.
And I do believe that this should be soul points. Going
Guys,
over
we
to the
cannot
side
contest.
of
Just
Omega
hit the
Goobers.
mid wave. We are
No,
losing out
no,
on a
they're
lot of
trying it.
experience.
They're trying it. They're
Please.
not going to give it up. No jungler doesn't matter for the side of Akuma Sabers. They will try to fight this one out. Basting taken down to about half health for now. Flame as well, though, on about only half. This Drake is getting very low. That was very close to finding Matt G there on the enchantment crystal of Arrow. Not quite. And so the side of Akuma Sabers will just walk away from this one.
Yeah, neither of the solo laners from Omega
wait,
had
hold on.
the.
They don't try
They're
this,
just gonna
right?
force this. I mean,
Yeah, there's
Flame
a
has
control
teleport. Yeah,
No
they
way.
still have the pushing top wave. I think this is really fake right now. It looks like they're just trying to force their hand.
Sorry,
There's
man.
no way, no Ashe ultimate and no Wukong ult. I think it's a great play from them. No one can guess that. You have no idea until it's already halfway dead.
Yeah, and there goes the Hawk shot now, seeing that the Baron is halfway down. Source Walker is here, and here comes the rest of Omega Goobers, but it is the heist of the season for the
Bye,
side.
Velder.
Oh no, Velder's dead. Velder's
I can
gone.
chase them out here.
Oh, wait,
Basing got
will have
canceled.
his
Okay,
recall cancel. Source Walker maybe no. They'll
just
they're
cut
fine.
through
Yeah, they're
mid.
fine.
All you have to do is cut through mid. Take the mid tier 1 if they make.
They
Take
know.
the mid tier 2 if they want
going after
coffee.
Flag drag away. This
There's no turret here.
Over just yet. There, as you said, there is no tier 2 turret. Coffee going to use the Cataclysm to try to get away, but now here's the rest of Omega Goobers. Coffee, flag, and drag away. Basing now going to get knocked up. Helper doing a good job there to try to put some CC. That'll be a 3-second stun. But will they be able to pick up Basting on the revive? No, they will not. So Lot committed. No kills, but at the very least, it will be the mid tower.
Thank you,
going over to the
Joss.
side of Omega Goobers.
Stop fighting, guys. Just hit the turrets, please. I'm begging you. Oh man, it's getting nice. It's getting wild. It's getting a little bit raucous here in our first game between our number 1 and number 2 seeds. But I mean, no, I think to be expected when these two teams are kind of playing. They really want to play for objectives, especially if you're on Akuma. Coffee is the guy that has always been talking about, I want to make the right play. I don't care if my teammates are not in the right position. It just means they're making the wrong one, okay? We need to be in the same spot. We need to be making the plays. And part of that decisive decisions or decisive making is the fact that they just call for the Baron. They immediately go for it. They only lose... I don't even think they lose any of their Barons, except for, okay, sorry, they lost Velder, but I think that's perfectly fine. You have Sivir in the mid lane who's always going to be able to push, and now we get into a situation. How can we actually see Akuma use this Baron? Because as is, most of this Baron is mostly just going to be saying, we have it to give us a 2.5-minute barrier to be able to pick up gold, pick up a little bit of turret damage, and then we can look to try to be in position, get down vision wards, so that when we get to that dragon, we can contest you for soul.
Yeah, I mean, that will be a big point of contention coming up in about 2.5 minutes. So if they can't, if they can, maybe force down that mid tier 1 and open up the area around that dragon pit a little bit more, it could be advantageous, because you said they will have the pushing advantage on these waves. So maybe something we look forward to, but I mean, it's not exactly that Omega Goobers lack any sort of wave clear themselves. Once it does reach that turret, it will take a lot to maybe open up this map a little bit more. But what else can they do while we wait for this next trade?
I mean, for the time being, it's just pick up items, right? Like right now, we're seeing 2 item spike for a lot of the teams, or a lot of the players here. Sourcewalker having a small advantage. They're just trying to get Joss to splash.
Forward, will have to flash away on the counter side. Flash forward from Sun and Stars will find Joss again. No more flash. Helper comes down with the crash down, and teleports coming through. Emperor's Divide will find 3. And now the heroic entrance also going to pick up Helper. And so 2 kills over to the side of Akuma. Sabers will be advantage as well as that mid tower. So not only are they going to pick up that, as they said, going to be spiraling despair. Going to catch out Matty G. Going to have to go down there. Basting will try to keep the rest of his team alive, but I don't think there's much they can do to keep himself alive there. And so 2 kills back on the back end of that fight after the very strong Akuma Sabers start out there. will be turned around and equalized very quickly after.
The thing for me is getting that flash away from both of our AD carries. Joss no longer having flash on Ashe 45 seconds before this Drake is a big win for Akuma. But Hockey, the crushing maw from this way, brings all of the members of Akuma into singularity. He throws out the ultimate, and they're able to get big damage, taking down Basting right before this objective. And guess what? He's going to be up in time. He's going to be able to use his E, but there's no teleport, so he has to be dropping waves and making sure that he's here for this fight. And coming into this now, look at what's available for the side of Omega. They still have Cassante ult. They're going to have Wukong ult. Ashe ult is still up and available. And they're going to be missing out on some of these abilities.
Because he getting caught out a little bit here, going low, going down. Now Coffee hopping in on the back in this fight. I'm not sure that's where you want to be. Going to flash away. Cyclone going to knock him up as well there. 2 kills start off this fight. Going over to the side
canceled
of
his
Omega
E!
Goobers, and now 3 as the hop away is canceled. As you mentioned there, Ult Battery. It's going to be 3 early kills over to the side of Omega Goobers, and surely going to be the Infernal Soul going over to them as well.
Massive win for this team, picking up their items, making sure that they're here for the soul. That's just too much of an aggressive look coming out from Akuma. Sun and Stars gets punished. Coffee tries to bail out his team member, and in the end, it turns into 3 kills for them. So Omega Goobers are looking in prime position to win this game, and more of the same of some of the problems that we saw from last week's loss against Mars here for Akuma Sabers is the fact that Basting is just having a horrible game. Unfortunately, Basting last week, he got gapped in his laning matchup, and Dwamni really took it to him. And when we talk about Basting as a player, it's that greed. When you're playing against a lot of the softer, lower-end teams, Basting is great at being able to punish. He's the most colloquial term I can come up with it, he's a noob punisher. If you're a noob, he's gonna punish you. He will just take your lane. You will not be able to play the game. But when you're in these aggressive positions and there's really no one there to follow up, or when you're on this Zac, you have to be on point. The laning phase, he had a 20 CS lead. It doesn't matter. Cassante is going to be more impactful if you're not in the right spot. So I want to see a little bit more. Vailder has to be careful. You can get soloed here.
Yeah, he's going low. He will be able to hop away at the very least, and does have help of his tower. So we should be okay for now, but as the Baron comes up, what is the avenue back into this game for Akuma Sabers off Battery? Where do
they're still in an okay spot. Yeah, so they're still in an okay enough spot to fight. We've seen it time and time again. The fights have been going somewhat even between these two, but Akuma, their execution has just not been there. Like Coffee, there's no one here. Okay, here we go.
Really, Matchy is here, but Coffee, as you said, a little bit too far forward. Going to get slowed up. Going to get maybe taken down eventually by the Hwei, and as well as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow finding its way onto Sun and Stars. Sourcewalker now going forward, trying to find any more they possibly can. That being said, we move over straight over to the fight, Basting down 2 levels despite having the revive. I'm not sure how much it'll matter in this scenario. And without, I mean, the teleports aren't going to come through. I suspect that will be Baron going over to the side of Omega Goobers, unless if there's just a heroic moment, but I really doubt it without Coffee being available.
Coffee and Sun and Stars need to be on point with their engages. They get caught out in that situation. It's the Baron going over, so they have the Soul, they have the Baron, and the Baron is going to last long enough to, we have a minute before this Elder Drake. That right there is going to be the great equalizer and kind of the last moment we see from Akuma if they want to stay relevant in this game. This Baron is going to basically carry over Omega Goobers into being in a winning position. They're going to be able to push out all of their waves. What I want to see from them is play on mid and bottom lane. You probably want to send at least Flame or Hockey to... More than likely, you're probably just sending Flame, because Hockey by himself probably going to get engaged upon, lose his flash before the objective. You want to make sure that you're pushing on these waves, you push them all the way into Akuma's base, and then as you're retreating, you're leaving around wards, you're getting rid of their vision, let them walk into Fog of War, and you're already on the objective, you're already ready to set up for this Elder Drake.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very strong positional advantage for the side of Omega Goobers. Perhaps they can find something down here just a little bit earlier. Slightly too far. Slightly forward from Coffee.
I just noticed something. Look at what level Coffee is.
15.
And look at Sourcewalker. He is level 16. He has rank 3 ultimate, which, again, alongside his laners, look at them. Everybody's about level 15, level 14, around that age. Coffee is just so far behind at this moment. He's also down in items as well, so he has to really make that first punch count. Otherwise, we're going to see Akuma Sabers take another loss.
Oh, you're saying it's going to count. Will try to catch out Joss, who does have the flash available. Coming down now, Sun and Stars following that up.
Helper!
Matt G will find Joss, though, and Helper, without any sort of mobility, will be going low. Coffee, will they find him on the return? Maybe not. Double kill going outside some rat from Matthew. Going to find one. Flame on the backside. Will they find any more?
Flame?
Does have the revive available. Flame going to get caught out. Flame going down. And oh no, it's 4 kills over to the side of Akuma Sabers. A bit too aggressive from the side of Omega Goobers. That advantage that they had not going to matter temporarily. In the next 2 minutes, the Elder Drake will come up. So at the very least, they won't lose much else other than their lives for now. But
yeah,
still,
I mean,
a very
just
strong
ripped
blunder
apart that
from the
fight.
side of Goobers.
No one was there to be able to play for this. Hockey's just straight up dead base and can solo kill him
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
there's not anything
There we
really you
go,
can do here.
and-
Hockey, there it is.
Nice.
Shut
That's going to be a
down.
shutdown
Okay.
going over to the Zac. They're going to be able to grab at least 2 turrets here. Now they're able to use some of those grubs. Big win for the side of Akuma. And for Matt G, someone who throughout the season, if you're a part of the Diamond League general chat, you know this guy's getting clowned on by his team a lot behind the scenes. So Matt G having a great team fight. He's able to just kind of sit there, auto attack, and just utilize the ricochet of Sivir. Part of the reason that this team composition works so well is that Jarvan, Zac, and Galio can hold targets together and hold them for long enough that Sivir just rips apart a backline without even needing to be in range of them necessarily. So big thing now, Elder Drake. Yes, we see that Omega Goobers were in the position. They still have the Infernal Drake. They still have a positional and a gold lead. But the big thing coming into this, there's not going to be any flashes here from their side. Now they're missing Ashult as well. It's 45 seconds before this Elder. This is a tricky spot for Omega Goobers. If they win this, they're going to handily win the game. But Akuma can come back.
Oh, Akuma might be able to come back, but Sun and Stars may be caught here. Not enough damage to find down immediately. Coffee going to use the Cataclysm to split up this fight. Flame doesn't really have anywhere else to go, but here comes the rest of the team. Matt G going low. Oh my god, that's going to be a very strong Emperor's Divide, but will it be enough? Maybe not. Joss very low, Hockey very low. Veldir in the back line now will find one going down eventually though. So it's still of an even trade, 3 for 3 for now. Health bars all tiny at this point. Going to be on a knife's edge as we do have the Elder Drake coming up in just 5 seconds. I don't know. Who blinks first? It's just a struggle of a moment with how low these health bars are. I am a bit scared in all honesty for both these teams.
Yeah, this is a tough position to play in. Unfortunately for Omega Goobers, Akuma have their jungler, they have the Sivir. This could be them taking the Elder Drake. It's already almost half HP. Hockey is back. Joss is on his way. Helper just respawned, but this is not going to matter. Sourcewalker is still 10 seconds before he respawns. They need to make a big contribution. Basin can make his way over, and Velder has TP in 10 seconds. So this should be, if they can play this out, if they can just wait for just the right timing, Akuma, they can even find a flank here. Sun starts walking first in the Fog of War. They're trying to trade spots. Flame will have to teleport back in if he needs to get in.
I mean, he does have it available, so it won't be too much of a concern if they do send Flame elsewhere to try to find anything, perhaps. It's like I said, it's on a knife's edge. It's going to be started up by the side of Akuma Sabers for now, though. Bit of a daring thing. Teleport coming through
Coffee
on Flame.
with a huge flank here. He'll get spotted.
It will be spotted. Basting going low, going maybe down now. Flag and drag.
Joss is dead.
Caught out. Joss does finally go down. Sourcewalker will find a few. Emperor's Divide going to do a bit of damage, but will it be enough? No, it's going to be the side of Akuma Sabers getting swept out here. And with the wave pushing mid, you have to feel that that's going to be game 1. Going over to the side of Omega Goobers.
Omega Goobers with our number 1 and 2 seeds just duking it out. A little bit of a dirty brawl. We got down in the mud with each other, but a fantastic job, I think, nonetheless, from OMG. They made sure to stay on their timers. They always were there to kind of punish when Akuma were playing just a little bit too far up. And that has been some of the big problems that we've seen from Akuma is when they are ahead, they play really brazenly. But now we get to see what they look like when they play from behind. That's going to be a game 1 victory coming out from Omega Goobers.
Yeah, and I mean, what a game 1. I mean,
Yeah.
what a way to kick off like what was definitely the like marquee matchup for this week. coming into week 8. Going to be
I
the
told
key
Bully
one.
we gotta stream this game. We can't stream
Yeah.
another Art of War series. I'm sorry for the guys on that team. I will not be watching that. I need to see Omega Goobers. I picked this matchup 2 weeks in advance, and I was sure. I was saying this has to be our number 1 and 2. I'm excited to see that it's delivering.
It has delivered in spades so far, and as a little bit of context as a result of this one, even if Omega Goobers do go on and win this one 2-0, assuming that Akuma Sabers doesn't forfeit game 2, which I'm going to assume they don't.
Please don't.
Assuming that, you know, don't mind me. Assuming that Akuma Sabers don't forfeit game 2, it does mean that Omega Goobers will still technically be behind Akuma Sabers by a singular point if they do 2-0. Wait.
Yeah, so all that matters. The point only matters if they're the same scoreline, right? So obviously we're kind of expecting for Akuma Sabers to beat Elysium Aries next week, but if they lose next week, they're also going to be in a weird spot. It'll come down to points, especially, but they'll have the head-to-head. They obviously, if we see OMG actually take the win, then that's obviously a big influence on that. But there's a real possibility here that with how Akuma are looking, if they take 3 weeks off, there's a situation where Akuma actually end up second in this league.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see
We'll have to
how
wait.
all of that kicks out. But I mean, we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. We still have game 2 ahead of us, which we will go to a break. But when we come back, we'll have the draft of game 2. And considering how that game 1 went, I would recommend to not turn away at all, because we will see you there on the other side. we are back for the draft of Game 2 here between Akuma Sabers and Omega Goobers after what was an astounding Game 1 here with massive ramifications for the standings coming into playoffs.
Exactly. We're 1 week away. This is our week 8. We're going into week 9 next week, and that's it for our regular season. And these two teams have a possibility of playing for first place here. Akuma, they've been top dogs all season. Last week they took a loss, their first one of the season. And Omega, they've been trying to make it through. They're one of our 3 teams sitting at 5-2. And as we get into the second game, Akuma on blue side going with a first pick Gwen, a champion that did receive a little bit of a nerf on this patch, but Gwen has been super strong. I think that this champion is absolutely ridiculous as long as you can get to 2 or 3 items, and after that point, she just takes over. She can one-shot anybody. She wins a ton of duels by herself, and I think this is such an awesome champion to see as we kind of get through this draft.
Not only that, one of the issues with the weaknesses of Bastings is that we even saw it last time out. Just gets caught out a little bit too easily there in the sidelines, but Gwen is immune, so definitely helps in that regard as well. Counter on the other hand, OMG, this wasn't available to them last time out. They will go for the Kaisa first pick. Perhaps something that wasn't given to them last time is up now.
And interesting bans here. I did want to kind of mention to the rest of the stream, we are going to be having Hockey step in again for Game 2. So this is going to be their consistent mid laner, at least for these first 2 games. Hockey, I think, did a fantastic job on the Hui, and you can already see it somewhat reflected in the ban. The Yone being taken away is a huge flex for this team. Flame individually has been, again, I think the best top laner in the league. Showcased it in that last game as well versus his opponent in Basting. And now we've got the Zio Rakan here for Akuma. So letting their bot lane still have tools. Part of the keys to success for Akuma have been allowing for Matt G to have his own individual plays to be able to be safe by himself and also give him his own peel tools. So I like this coming out from them. Omega, though, trying to go with something a little bit of a different strategy. The Seraphine Zinzao I love as a pairing, and Kaisa can just join in whenever she wants. So Omega already kind of going up with something a little bit different than what we've seen.
Yeah, a lot of just like you said, that ability to just move in. Seraphine, while being an enchanter, definitely has that, I guess, connotation behind Seraphine kind of not really being the one to start out fights, but that encore with you get a really long range setup on that can definitely open up these fights as well. As you get around to the second round of bans, Aurelia going to be taken away by Omega Goobers. I know that I'm pretty sure she got buffed this patch.
She got buffed this patch, but I don't think it's meaningful. And also, Vailder is an Aurelia player. We saw him play it earlier in the season, so there were some grumblings of potentially an Aurelia coming through later on this season. But it looks like this time around, they're trying to get rid of some pretty tough matchups. Seraphine into Aurelia is pretty miserable to play. And wouldn't be surprised if you see more of those top side bans, as we already see the Urgot coming through for Omega Goobers, and then we have the Aurelia as well as the Shen here. So getting rid of some champions that for the side of Basting would be things that I would assume that he would want to try to pick up to try to play more for the team. He recognizing that, hey, the laning phase I don't think is going to be mattering. We need to be focusing on having really high impactful teamfight ultimates.
And speaking of a few of that being taken away, the Shen being a fairly strong one at that. But, you mentioned Basting. On the other hand, there is also Flamin', so it's no real surprise to see that 2 fairly impactful top laners are going to be taken away on the side of Camille. And Aatrox by the side of Akuma Sabers, but Ari is going to be locking for Omega Goobers, and it's the Ari Annie hover. Maybe. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm. They need a little bit more engage. I don't like this right now. We don't know where the Gwen is going. I assume it's going to be Gwen jungle just because I think Coffee has been a player that has been such a large driver for this team. So I think giving him the keys to be able to outplay would be great. Syndra is a champion that I think still suffers from the same kind of objections I have about this draft where, yes, you have the damage to be able to execute, but now you have kind of a Gwen and Syndra. This is showing to me this is probably going to be Gwen top lane here, going for the B1 for basting. And you already know that this is going to be countered. You're on red side as a Mega Goober, so you have to be thinking, what champions can we play into Gwen that we have ready and kind of available for us for Flame? The jungler here, I think, going to be more important. There's Volibear still up and available. The Ivern, we still also have stuff like the Amumu, which hasn't gone picked. It's going to be the Scion, so this is going to be our Gwen jungle here. What does Flame have prepared to try to take into top lane?
Well, I mean, into Scion, I mean, try to remember good Scion counter picks. I suspect, my top lane knowledge isn't great. Help me out here.
I mean, if he is going to be playing Scion top, if you're trying to smash the laning phase, and you do have Xin Zhao, you have the Seraphine, I think
Gnar.
if Fiora could do very well here. Gnar is going to be our generic strong bruiser top laner that can kind of deal with Scion. If you want, GP is also another answer, although GP into Scion is not incredibly fun. Scion can definitely take advantage of GP's lack of mobility. You can also go for Smolder, but in a game with Gwen and Syndra, I just don't think there's many options. Honestly, if you want the most secret hidden tech, Trundle R5 here versus Scion versus Syndra. The pillar's just so OP. I think it should have been an angle, but we're gonna get that Gnar. And here for Omega Goobers, this Seraphine has to be on point. They don't have a ton of engage here. They're really relying on Xin Zhao, Ahri, and eventually Gnar with Mega.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most conventional form of engage from the side of Omega Goobers available, but it is still at the very least there. And I mean, other than Gwen on the side of Akuma Sabers, it does still feel like a fairly standard kind of front to back sort of situation, with the exception being that Gwen, you could find, if there's a composition that you can find that sort of encore form of engage into with the assistance of your teams in front of you, I think this is definitely it if you are on the side of Omega Goobers. Obviously the execution does come down to it at the end of the day, but things like this do help. I think that for that execution to come through on the side of Omega Goobers anyway.
Yeah, I'm just worried that they're not going to really have anybody to frontline here. The good thing for them, I think, from the side of Omega Goobers is the Xin Zhao versus multiple different range champions can definitely be a little bit more interesting. With the ultimate, you can stop Syndra from being able to do any damage. The ultimate as well is going to be also able to brush off the Xin Zhao and the Gwen, so there's angles there. If Omega Goobers can get this mid jungle to really work with the Ahri and the Xin Zhao, they can run over this game, and suddenly we have a 2-0 here for Omega. But I think Akuma have a robust enough kind of draft, and I want to see what Coffee looks like on a champion that doesn't have the same agency as, you know, those engaged champions that we're kind of used to seeing from Akuma.
Well, we'll have to see if the adaptation from Akuma for Game 2 does help propel them to a Game 3, or whether or not Omega Goobers can pull off another astounding result here against our league leaders. But until we have loaded onto the Rift, we will have to wait and see. So don't go anywhere. When we are back, it will be Game 2 between these two titans of Blue Water Diamond League. We'll see you then.
You've seen the walls
And we are back and loaded onto the rift for game 2 between Omega Goobers and and Akuma Sabers, or I guess I should say it the other way around, since we have switched sides for game 2 Alt Battery. And yeah, got a
Oh.
what was the
I'm seeing Jost. Okay, so Jost going for the AP Kaisa build here. It's hinted in by going for the first strike here. It's not going to be much of a laning rune. I think I agree with them. You're never really going to be in an instance where you are just hitting for free on these champions. The Gwen and the Syndra are going to make that very, very tough for you. So instead, just going to outrange them. The problem that I kind of see is there are not that many tanks, but Sion can really itemize into magic resist this game. It will be a little bit more tough when we're talking about the individual lane matchup, but again, we're talking about two teams who are really looking to try to win team fights, play around certain objectives, and when we look at top lane here, this should be Omega Goober's way of, we're playing for the grubs, we can play with this. Kaisa by herself is not the most self-sufficient laner. She can't clear the lane very fast, and with the first strike, she's going to be able to make a proc it a few times, but they also did nerf AP Kaisa more often than not every single patch now for this champion. So gonna be a little bit weaker. You're gonna have 3 champions who are gonna be dealing magic damage. A little bit worried and interested to see how Joss performs.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I had suspected in the draft. I mean, at least I'd be surprised if Joss does really anything different, considering he's mentioned that first strike build just doesn't. What else are you going to be doing with that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really all that into this potential like poke build from the Kaisa.
I mean, you're gonna outrange them. The problem that Xayah has is whenever she gets outranged, she literally just can't do anything. There's actually zero counterplay for Xayah in that instance. There's nothing that she can do, but it's a matter of like how meaningful it's going to be. When we get towards objective, it's really dangerous. Like we're talking about playing around Dragon, playing around Baron, and suddenly there's a never-ending Kaisa W in your face, chunking for your massive amounts of HP. So we'll have to see what happens. Both junglers now pathing towards the bottom side of the map. Big thing here for Akuma is protecting their jungle camps and utilizing their champions who can acquire push really easily, like the Xayah, like the Syndra, so that they can make sure that Gwen is nice and fed. Once she hits 3 items, that's kind of like the dinner bell ringing. That's when we're going to see Akuma really start to kind of take off, and it's going to be on Coffee to not only be really smart with his pathing, but also make sure that he's getting resources where he can.
Yeah, and if there is a jungler who has been able to do that a lot this season so far, it has been Coffee. But as a moderate concern that I have, I mean, as long as it's along the side, I guess you can stay along the bottom side of the map, but I mean, that top side of the map, at least for the early stages of this game, is going to practically be a no-go for the side of Coffee. I don't really see how Basting on his own starts to pull out a lead here, maybe.
He's playing Scion. He does not need to pull out a lead. All he needs to do is just walk up and
he
press
does
W.
On his own terms. Oh, we have a bit of a thing around.
Okay,
the
Ari
bottom
has first
side.
move here. Coffee doesn't have Hollowed Mist anymore. He's just going to be able to jump over the wall. I think that's going to be perfectly fine. He just uses Flash, okay. All right.
Oh,
fair play.
yeah, that's
His E was on a bit of a cooldown, so didn't have that up and available, but still a big win here for Akuma. Yes, they traded the Flash, but by pulling up their support, they get the first scuttle, and now Coffee's going to be able to grab second scuttle as well. So Gwen already starting to kind of tick away, start to get that last little bit of damage, and I will say, for as much as, you know, we've been talking about Omega Goobers, and specifically even in this game, they're able to get early vision onto where Coffee is.
Flame
this
is
just a solo
taking
kill?
Basting low, but that just a little
Saw the
bit
pings, they
going
know.
wide slightly. But yeah, as you said, they do know that Coffee is in the area. Flame, does he get out? Will cancel his recall. Hops away. Akuma, Coffee will not have that dash. Did use that early.
Yeah, it's Flash,
You
okay.
suspect that Flame should be able to get away, as he does have to use Flash there.
I think that's
so.
perfectly fine. Look at the mini wave. He'll be able to catch this as well. And if he really needs to, Source Walker is here and in the area. Basting has Flash. He can try to go for kind of a cheesy quick play real quick. He's not super afraid of what happens here.
Time's low. Basting does walk a bit forward, and we did say that this is one of the things that Basting is a little bit prone to do. Can't really fight back at all under this tower. Taken down now. First blood, Source Walker.
His lane is absolutely ruined. I kind of feel for Basing in this instance. He has to TP for this wave because it's pushing into Flame. But this is just a awful place to be in now. He is absolutely going to be useless in this game. He's lost his lane lead. He had to take a recall because he almost got solo killed, so he missed out on that wave. He misses out on this next wave as well. Big win here for Omega Goobers, where they they kind of punish on Basting, having to overextend himself.
And I we've said it multiple times now, but it still keeps coming true that Basting, really, I like the aggression. I like the audacity to do the things that he does, as like in terms of like a respect sort of thing. Like I can respect having that amount of confidence in yourself, but Flame level 6 down, Basting only level 4. There's not anywhere you can go. On the Gnar getting used, Basting now will survive for just a little bit longer.
He'll catch this wave.
he'll
That's
be
the most
fine.
important part. This is about 15 minions right here. So as long as he's just here to soak experience and soak gold, it's going to be okay. But his lane is in such a rough spot here. And right now they're playing for these grubs. He actually snuck in by using the wind becomes lightning. He doesn't get spotted over the scuttle here. So there's going to be 3 grubs here. And I like what Coffee was doing. Despite what happened topside, he said, it doesn't matter, I'm playing for my own game, I'm playing for my Gwen. He stole away the Raptors from Source Walker, and he's still just clearing camps. He's getting so close to getting level 6 here as the enemy jungle, and he's about half a level up on Source Walker right here, so I love this. I think Coffee just showing a lot of the wherewithal of a jungler that we come to expect to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and we'll start to move up a little bit and also move towards the bottom half of this map alongside Veldir. So perhaps a bit of trouble for Jost and Helper, as they're both very low on mana. Without a lot of options, still all summoner spells available, so they can.
Oh, Source Walker doesn't know they're here. He's gonna wrap all the way around. They're on vision.
Oh, they don't know that they're there, or at least Source Walker doesn't. But
They
that's
go.
not
They gotta
communicated.
go now.
There's vision now. Coffee and Veldir will have knowledge. Sun and Star is going to take a lot of damage at the start of this fight. Matt G going to go down in return, so 1-for-1 for now. the tower is building
Oh,
up, and
Hockey!
Hockey's there, gets Sun and Stars, and with health bars low, Coffee surely going down as well. 2 charges of that Spirit Rush available. Helper still has a decent amount of health, will find the slow. I don't know if there's anywhere you could go as Veldir, he's taken low. Will he finally tick down auto attack? When
There
comes
we
lightning,
go!
won't find it, but there's the charm, and there's the kill going over to Hockey, and it is very strong from the side of Omega Goobers here to start out game 2.
They took a single kill onto Jost, and 3 of them died in that moment. 4 of them died during that moment. I mean, that is a huge outplay coming out from the side of Omega Goobers, and honestly, the dive was just too cooked. They needed to dive on the minion wave. We saw that Jost used the flash. They weren't able to get the kill very early on. And that right there, that might just spell the end of this game. I know it's really early, it's 8 minutes in, but they did it. They weren't able to get the grubs. They weren't able to grab the dragon.
no,
And Coffee
basting.
just spent a lot of his own
Oh,
time.
no,
Basting
basting.
gets solo killed. That could be the end of the game right here.
Yeah, as well as the first straight going over to the side of Omega Goobers. Not only
Yeah.
have they have all these kills, all this experience advantage from losing waves, they also have both neutral objectives. Veldir going to flash
Nice
away.
job,
Source
of
Walker
course.
going to be able to keep himself alive for now. Izzy's going low, going Crescent Guard not quite available. The charm will only find 1 on the encore. Sun and Stars going low will be okay. There's not a lot of damage immediately available on the side of Omega Goobers for now.
What a weird game, and I gotta say, Omega Goobers are doing so much to be able to answer these plays. Fantastically played mechanically coming out from Source Walker, and I don't know if Hockey's going to be a permanent addition to this team, but if these are the games that we're going to get consistently from Omega Goobers, I'm very comfortable giving them the first place spot in the league right now. They're playing so well, and I love what this look has been for Omega Goobers. Coming into Akuma, we were thinking this was going to be a close matchup, but in between these 2 games and so far through this game too, it has looked predominantly like Akuma. Their style is just not working right now. They're going to have to become more adaptable, not necessarily in Week 9, but I think in playoffs is going to be the more important bout if they really want to be top dogs in the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not the... I don't want to say definitely not the Akuma Sabers look that we've seen this whole time around, at least in recent weeks. You could say maybe this is slightly expected with how a few of their games have gone. Even though, I mean, they only took their first loss last week, but it's one of those things that sometimes happens where it's like, where Akuma Sabers, they were saying in a few of the Otter Talks that like, oh yeah, we're pushing as far as we can because we're so much better, but it's you know, sometimes that becomes true, like. I don't know, because, you know, I'm getting back from a production of Hamlet where it's like even though Hamlet's like says he's pretending to be insane, towards the end of it he kind of is actually insane.
Yeah,
It's one of
exactly.
those-
You know that which you've been. I mean, once you do it, if you do something ironically a few too many times, it becomes true.
It's going to be the quickness used by Sun and Stars to try to find out Joss. For now, won't quite find anything here.
Okay, here's this top dive
At all.
though.
Yeah, top
Can they find this on the
basting is already so low and so far behind. I suspect that they will. They're just trying to give it over. Flame going to have to flash away though, so a bit delayed in that fight from the side of Omega Goobers, even though they do end up successfully completing that dive.
Okay, if this bot gank doesn't work at all, I just would say FF at this point, because
Yeah,
now you're in a
Coffee's winning
position
a
where
lot.
look at where Coffee is doing. Coffee hates doing this. He has no camps. He could just be stealing
Joss
camps
is
away.
going to be found out though. Going to use the ability
No
to get away.
way!
No, the encore's enough to get the kill, but the return is here. Feathers will be called by Matt G, but Hockey
Here's Hockey,
is here,
though.
does have a Spirit Rush, will get snared up. I don't think it's going to matter, gets that one as well. Sun and Stars can run, but can he get away? It will be the minion wave that's going to keep him alive, but 2 kills on the back end of that fight. It's going to be another one going over to the side of Omega Goobers' favor.
Exactly, and they got 6 grubs on the opposite side, so this game is going from bad to worse. I think Akuma Sabers are just reaching too far. Coffee's like, okay, well, I don't have any camps to play, so I might as well go for this gank, but they don't have any consistent way of targeting fights. This is what we were talking about from draft. They don't have like a Nautilus, a Leona, someone who can snap engage. You're really waiting on Sun and Stars to have that ultimate, but as long as the quickness is down, there's nothing you can do. You're losing out on top side. You're now losing in the jungle matchup. This is such a hard position to play from if you're Akuma Sabers, and for Omega, it just gets easier to play. Seraphine is such a strong champion in this draft, and we're looking at the mid-jungle duo. We weren't expecting this to really kind of go this way. I had thought we were going to get a better performance from Basting, and it's just becoming, I mean, Hockey and Sourcewalker roaming all over the map, getting work done.
Yeah, it's really, what do you do on the side of Akuma Sabers? They're sitting down around 4k gold at 12.5 minutes. Flame going to take Basting down to half health. It doesn't even look safe under his own tower. I mean, it's, yeah.
It's tough. Now, this dragon coming up in 15 seconds. I think this is an angle for them to try to play on. Hockey did just teleport back into mid, or back into the bottom lane. I think you're not expecting for your Kai'Sa to deal damage. A 78 stack Muramana. Please stop building this first item, guys. I promise you, you don't have to build it. You can build another AD item. You can build AP if you really want to. But instead, they're just giving this up. So what are we playing for if we're on the side of Akuma? Because at this point, I don't think we're going to be able to safely get to 3 items without losing our entire base. So we have to make something happen. And honestly, I think this comes down to Vailder. Vailder needs to make the Syndra work if they want to do something. So now, what I want to see, how do Sun and Stars and Vailder kind of link up? Can this Rakana and Syndra get work done on the map, find those solo kills, find those 2v2s where they can? Because if that's not going to happen, then I think Akuma have just unfortunately come into the second game looking limp and dead.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if it's any consolation, Jost's build is questionable, right? That's. I mean, obviously, we're still only 14 minutes in. There's still enough time for Akuma Sabers to try to turn this one around. And, you know, Akuma Sabers still definitely one of the better teams in the league. You can't take that away from them. If there is a team that can find a way back into this one, they have done it a lot in the past against arguably easier opposition. But still, they have come from behind in many times situations before. So even though we are struggling to find this one Flame, so this might be a certain angle. Flame going to be able to get Mega real soon, but 4 members on the side of Akuma Sabers here will be the shutdown going on to Coffee. Importantly, there we're going to be getting that little bit closer to finding their items. So
and this is what I wanted to talk about, was the fact that because Hockey teleported towards bot and never swapped back into mid, it meant that they couldn't get that Rift Herald, suddenly locking their mid laner out from this. This is a small misplay, I think, coming out from the side of Omega Goobers, is not allowing for their AD carries to swap back in and unlock this Ahri. Ahri is much more impactful at this moment. You so want to play on this one item spike with the Malignants here. And the fact that they get the Rift Herald, they get that shut down, it goes over to Gwen, is a big win for the side of Akuma Sabers. They need to get Hockey out of this lane. Let the Kai'Sa just solo farm bottom lane. Who cares that it's against the Xayah? Just let them go.
Sourcewalker's going to go forward, perhaps maybe a little bit ill-advised. Crescent Guard to keep him alive for now, but these health bars very low. Flash forward from Helper, going to pick up 3, but importantly not Vailder for now, so these health bars are still up, and without that available Basting, taken low, he's going to sacrifice himself for the cause. But Lot committed for only 1 kill, going over to the side of Omega Goobers.
I think I'll take that though.
He'll be fine. Yeah,
I think I'll take that. That's a flash out from Vailder. I just really don't want to see Matt G versus Hockey right now. This is such a waste of the Ahri's time. I think a big win for the side of Akuma Sabers. Does he know though that he's in the bush though? Because he shouldn't have seen with Presence of Mind going on cooldown that he's not in there. They need to unlock this Ahri, get her out from the side lane, let her push the wave, and then move into Fog of War, play in that bottom side river. This is such a good position still for Omega Goobers, but they need to keep the pace of the game in their favor. They need to be making sure that they're pushing on sides. They're pressuring Syndra now, especially because she has no flash. If they can find her out in awares, it's going to be a big win for them.
Oh, Joss is going to get stunned up, going out to flash away from Sun and Stars. So there's going to be that cooldown not going to be available for the ADC of Omega Goobers, who did just step a little bit too far forward without having knowledge of where the opposition was.
And right as we get to a 4th Drake, because this 3rd Drake is just happening so soon in the game, Kai'Sa is going to be so strong. So it's kind of a timer at this point, saying in about 6 to 7 minutes, are you going to be relevant here? Because then Joss is going to probably have completed his second item. Muramana is going to be done by that point, hopefully for them. And then you're going to have Kai'Sa with two very strong 2-core items. You're going to also have the Ari, who's hopefully going to be able to match. Do I see Akuma being able to match? They need to be kind of keeping pace with the game, making sure they're making these plays. I love this. Stack the 2 solo laners, but they know Coffee's here. Great ward coming in from Omega Goobers to recognize Flame's just going to be playing safe, and as long as they can get control of mid-wave, they can play for this dragon.
And, you know, this next dragon is absolutely going to be, I mean, it is going to be a sign of life for the side of Akuma Sabers. They are definitely pushing forward to prevent that Coffee just going to walk up to this turret and absolutely knock that one over despite not having any of those grubs available. But yeah, I mean, all eyes in general are going to be on this Drake coming up in the next 20 seconds. It looks like it will be the side of Akuma Sabers who will have positioning on this one at the very least.
They've just desynced their timers too badly. I think Hockey on these side lanes needs to be joining with the team. And Joss just now finished the Luden's Companion, so we're on that second item right now. We're going to be seeing teleports coming into mid. This looks like it's going to be a team fight getting prepped for us. Our 2 teams meeting here at the Dragon. Important note, Vailder, still no flash here on this Syndra. If they can find him, that's a big win coming in for Omega Goobers.
They can find him. Both teleports have been committed down just yet. Just going to have a little bit of while until that Void Seeker can come back up. They're just kind of jockeying around for a position here in the mid lane. Sourcewalker
Coffee's taking the dragon.
That one.
Who cares?
Here, Coffee is taking it, but will you be able to take it fast enough? Sourcewalker going down onto Veil. They're going to find a lot of damage down. Going to be shut down onto the jungler. And here comes Coffee on the backside. Will they find the fight? That is going to be another kill going over to the side of Akuma Sabers. Not going to be committed, and that's going to be Coffee going down and basting. Not a lot of support available here for the rest of the side of this top laner on Akuma Sabers. So going to be a strong victory going over to the side of Omega Goobers. And even though Coffee did start up that Drake, was not able to take it. And that will be Soul Point going over to the side of Omega Goobers.
A great fight. Again, Vailder, no flash. He's in a terrible position. He cannot step up in that fight. And he unfortunately gets taken down. Hockey is so far ahead. Finishes the Horizon focus, teleports into the fight, and just makes a big game-changing ultimate play onto the enemy team. Akuma Sabers just look wary. They have no idea how to be able to play these fights. There's no relevant front line. Again, Rakan, he can be an engage, but he's never going to be tanky enough for you to actually be able to kind of sit there and tank away from the opponent. So this should just be mid-tier 1 falling. 6 grubs. They are much more powerful. They're just letting it happen. Just auto. All you guys have to do is auto attack at once. All the Void Mites will come out and it'll just die. It doesn't matter if it's on this wave or the next one. Still, Omega Goobers playing so well in this game. Even if I've had a little bit of doubts, maybe if I've had some personal grumblings with their lane assignments, they've been playing these team fights out really, really well. And I want to shout out specifically Sourcewalker, someone that was getting a little bit of, I think, some disrespect coming into the week, throughout the entirety of these weeks. And Coffee, who, while having a very big mouth and being one of our best junglers in the league, is just not having that same performance.
Not this time around, at least not on the night. If there is any consolation for Akuma Sabers, they still have an advantage in terms of standings. Even if they do go 2-0, they will have that slight points advantage over the side of Omega Goobers and still sit in that first spot. But this definitely shakes up the expectations going into playoffs, because I mean, even though I personally thought that there was a chance that a very good chance that Omega Goobers could definitely take away this victory, I was not suspecting that it would be in the fashion that we have seen here in Game 2 so far, at least.
Yeah, right now, when we're talking about the stakes of this match, if Akuma do win, they're just going to be by and far away. There's no way that they can potentially lose first place in the league. But if Omega do win, it sets up for potential for there to be an upset. Yes, it does require for the side of Akuma to lose next week as well, but I think very realistically, they take this 2-0, Omega Goobers still looking strong, they can potentially take a 2-0 next week, and then we have a battle where it's either them, Mars in the 4 wards, or Elysium who are all fighting for first. So Omega Goobers winning this opens up the standings for 3 other teams here.
Yeah, and Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves this week, because that is also.
We got nothing else to talk about. They're just
You know-
setting up on bottom wave. There's no dragons. We got a little bit of time to do some narratives.
Well, my point is that Elysium Ares is heading up against TPF Tempest this week, which, I mean, most likely going to be a win for them. But also on the same side of Mars and 4 wards facing final boss Diamond. So, I mean, obviously, we are getting that potential there being a 4-way tie in terms of series records going into week 9. We will have to wait, and my point is to have to see if there aren't any like changes in expectations in those results. I mean, final boss Diamond, they've only won 1 in their last 4, and even as early as week 5, I remember in Otter Talk we had I forget who specifically saying that FPD's position and the start of their season was a bit false. Which
I mean they had to play against. They played against a lot of really bad teams at the very beginning of the season, so fair enough. I know that we had a lot of the Akuma players wanting to bite back because our week 1 Otter Talk, we had some final boss Diamond players come on. We had some of their staff come on. They were saying they were going to win the league, that Akuma was going to be dog water. Turns out that was not necessarily the case, but we'll wait to see. The final boss are not even on the stream right now. We'll let them kind of win and lose in peace right now, as we've got a minute and 20 before the next dragon here, and big item spikes, I think, for me now. Jost finishing that second item. He's got the Muramana available to him, and if we can see Vailder finish this Shadow Flame in time, it's probably going to be the most meaningful, because now it's Mountain Soul. Not only are you going to be down in gold, down in objectives, down in experience, but if you can get a Mountain Soul on your side as Omega Goobers, the entire burst strategy of Omega Goobers is just gone. And the one thing I will say is the Baron that we saw last game coming out from Akuma can very realistically happen again. Gwen, as a champion, just deletes Baron off the map every single time she touches it. So they need to be careful, and they need to be ready for Akuma to snap play onto a Baron if they need to.
You have to look out for that snap play, but as time does tick down on that all-important soul point, the Mountain Drake is coming up within the next 30 seconds now. Early signs are positioning over to the side of Akuma Sabers now as they clear out some of that Goobers vision here in and around the pits, but there's still vision behind it for the side of Akuma, for Goobers, for potential teleport from Flame made to come through. Does have that available to him, as all 5 members on the side of Akuma Sabers are electing to stay in and around this mid lane. So there's going to be a little bit more time there for Flame to do what he wants, but as they start,
so they're going to let this dragon go, but they're going to
now-
make a snap after this. I have to imagine there's so much damage for them. Why are we even moving in towards the bottom side of the map? Are they just going to start a Baron? They'll take the Baron for. I think this is just a terrible trade for them. Flame is ending the game on the opposite side of the map right now. Has 6 grubs and can play on the side lane, but as is, I think you really wanted to try to get that soul for yourselves.
Gnar no longer going to have the Mega available, going to flash away now. Will he stay alive for any longer? Helper and Hockey are moving down in support.
Can't chase
so
them
is
down
Sun,
here.
And Stars moving up. Coffee going low. Coffee not going to be taken down just yet. Going to survive for a little bit longer, but that will cause Vailder to teleport down.
I think they're just worried about them starting a Baron. They don't have any vision in this area right now across the top side jungle. They're choking them out. They're going to push this top wave and then look to try to play for this Baron. You have Kaisa with AP. You have the Seraphine who can try to empower them. They're in a great spot to be able to take this. I just wish they didn't trade this for the Soul. I think Mountain Soul is just a game ender for your team. There's no Gwen ultimate here, so Baron more than likely, if anything, they won't have Mega Gnar for this, which is a huge one. He even misses the ultimate here.
Oh, Source Walker's going to go through, and here's the start of this fight. Scattered the Weak not going to find much out just yet onto the side of Omega Goobers as we just peel away, just tentatively kind of feeling around this fight. Not going to find too much damage on either side despite a few abilities being used. A key one going to be no ultimate for the side of Hockey, so won't be able to dash into a key angle if they find anything. Now on the backside of this Baron pit is Coffee
getting
trying to
real
find a
weird
way
now.
over.
Coffee has
About
ultimate.
half health. Coffee does have ultimate backup, as you say, and these health bars are starting to slowly tick away from the Baron on the side of Omega Goobers. If there's a potential way for the side of Akuma Sabers to find a way in, going to maybe be able to find it, but a lot of poke coming out through the Kaisa onto a few key targets as well. Matty G going to be down to about 2/3 health. As a result, slowly taking away. Flame going to go in, and here's Backfit. Encore only going to find one though, and now Coffee goes forward, finds the first kill of this fight. Flame going low, going down 2 to the side of Akuma Sabers.
Can Hockey do it though?
Going low, gets that heal builder, finally going down. Hockey gets that 1 kill. Now Joss in the backline, can he find anything else? Not quite just yet. Hockey going low as a result after a lot is committed, shut down onto Coffee, and it's going to be Akuma Sabers finding a really key fight, and very likely going to be that Baron as well.
Yeah, Flame just played that fight, unfortunately, really awfully. He's not able to find anybody with the Gnar ult, and here we go. Akuma Sabers, they get their 1 team fight win. Can they flip this game, however? They are still going to be down gold, but this Baron is going to give them a lot of local
I
gold.
don't think you want to be here, Helper.
Flame can teleport in 8 seconds, so what they
has
can do
no
is just keep
18.
them interested. All they have to do is just keep them in the area and chase them out from this objective. They're teleporting in, okay, they want to see if they can keep them.
Yes, they come. A few of these recalls are going to come through. The empowered ones at the very least
goodbye,
going to
Basting.
drop. But yeah, I mean, Basting, he is the sacrificial lamb to get his team out, but there's just nowhere else for him to go. But still going to be Baron onto 4 members of the side of Akuma Sabers.
Nice.
They're going to give that over to Joss at the very least.
Yeah, so Joss, I love that they did that. He has 2,300 gold. He's going to be able to afford Rabadons here. So he's going to have a huge spike soon. He has 1,100. He needs 40 more gold right now if he really wants to try to wait for it. He'll have the Rabadons. Yep, there we go. Has the Rabadons completed. It's going to be them losing mid-tier 1, but I think that's perfectly fine. Dragon in a minute 20's time. And I have to say, I do slightly give the advantage over to the side of Akuma Sabers, especially now that we no longer have the Ari ultimate before this fight. I was going to say, no flash on Joss. You can make an engage. You've been seeing Sun and Stars on the Rakan do really excellent work. And now without that, this might just be another Dragon going over to Akuma.
And just might be another. We have about a minute until that comes up with Baron pushing. Yeah, not to suspect that at the very least it is only a second Drake going over to the side of Akuma Sabers. But I mean, if without any sort of contest from this one, this point of contention with this point of pressure that we suspected that Omega Goobers would have. Going to be its witness used by Sun and Stars onto Sourcewalker to start this one out. Teleport coming through. Sourcewalker going low. The Encore will find nobody as Helper goes down. It's another slightly blundered fight from the side of Omega Goobers. Even though these health bars are still full, they are down a member, and it's going to be extremely difficult for them to find a way. And Hockey doesn't have the Spirit Rush of it, or at least didn't have it available for that last fight to try to turn that one around either. And so I do suspect that this will be the second Drake going over to the side of Akuma Sabers. And once again, signs of life from Akuma Sabers, despite what was looking somewhat doomed just a few moments ago.
And that'll be mid-tier 2 in trade. How much further do they want to go with this right now? They still have those 6 grubs, so they can open up the inhibitor turret after taking this. I just don't think you're going to be able to grab the inhibitor afterwards. Just go for your recalls, get out of there. Flame is holding the 2 solo laners here. I think he's perfectly fine,
by
though.
1. He will take a little hop to the side. Still going to extend this one out a little bit further. I don't know how much longer you want to be here, Flame. I mean, he does have the rest of his team slowly moving over in his direction to try to keep Basting.
Whoa, Flame.
Yeah, whoa. Gnar going to be used by Flame.
Coffee's just now used the Gwen ultimate.
Coffee did use the Gwen ultimate. Won't have the ability to go immune for now. Hockey did also use that Spirit Rush, so will have that on a cooldown if he does not use those other 2 charges of it. And considering that use of it there, he probably won't have it available if there is a ensuing fight around this one. So just very well might be, but as we move away now, I don't think we will.
Fantastic job from Akuma. I think that they have, unfortunately for Omega Goobers, led them across the map in this instance, where they're getting gold on side lanes. They're too preoccupied on the side of Omega Goobers of trying to just say, okay, this one member is out of position. Let's see if we can try to force them out. And hey, I love bullying Basting as much as the next guy, but chasing this guy down is not going to be what changes the fight in a lot of instances. Unless he dies in like 30 or 45 seconds before an objective, what you need to be focusing on is getting vision onto Coffee and making sure that Vailder and Matt G can't play the fight. Now both of them almost level 16, they have both of their summoner spells, and for me, Coffee hitting level 16 and about to hit their 3rd item, is that dinner bell that we were talking about at the beginning of the game. If he can get the 3 items, get that level 16 mark, he is going to rip apart a fight. His ultimate by itself is going to be doing insane amounts of damage. So Coffee very close to this level 16 mark, and potentially what flips this game back in favor of Akuma, which has been such a big win for Omega for most part of it. The first 20 minutes of this has been in their favor.
I mean, yes, it has been, but as you mentioned, obviously going to be Coffee hitting that level 16 now and on 3 items. So we were waiting for that moment. Is going to hit that now. It's just a little bit, just slightly too long from the side of Omega Goobers. Too many blunders in these fights, and Flame just might be caught out here. Coffee is going to be here. Flash from Flame, but will he get away? Coffee going to miss on that ultimate there, so it will be Flame fine for now, but no flash on that Nara. Just, I mean,
Flame just hasn't been very good on the Nara.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he's getting solo kills, he's getting the lane, you know, he's doing well for himself individually, but I think just pulling other people to the side of the map is perfectly fine in this instance. The fact that he lives is really good, just so that he can keep applying pressure here. And the thing that I want to note is his Nara ultimates have been looking really terrible this game. So I want to see him, it can be a big game changer if we get later in, if we talk about this Baron that's spawning in 45 seconds, if that's going to be a real fight. But we need to see Flame kind of step up for this team right now. He has such a large gold lead over his opponent, and they're not really able to exercise it just because we've been seeing him miss the Gnar ultimates time after time after time.
It's definitely, he's going to be catching a bit of flame after this one, and or not even, I mean, really during this one so far, and understandably so. I mean, he does have time to redeem it. That Gnar ultimate will be available up for this Baron fight if it should come around in the next 10 seconds here as that Baron is spawning. But I mean, that I think it only takes one, right? It only takes one really good Gnar to all of a sudden, well, he found the one that they needed. So
let's hope he can let's hope he can make it happen. That's the most important part. If you are an Omega Goobers fan, we do have dragons spawning in a minute. They do not need to be on this Baron. They just need to make sure that they have vision and they can track where this Gwen is right now, so they know that they are in mid lane. And the Mega Gnar bar is being built up here.
Oh, we're going to start it out now. Sourcewalker taken low, going to be snared up and taken down. Matty G going to pick up that one with numbers advantage without the jungler. This is going to be Akuma. Sabers heading on over to the Baron, and it's going to be a very tough time for the side of Omega Goobers to try to contest. At the very least, they do have a lot of range on Joss, on this Kai'Sa, but they're going to take this down so quickly. There's not really going to be a lot of time to really, well, poke them down to find and engage on this. That'll be a free Baron going over to the side of Akuma Sabers.
Sourcewalker just being a little too far up and thinking that maybe his ultimate would be able to save him. That's not going to be the case. We still have Dragon in 10 seconds. Sourcewalker will be respawning 4 to 6 seconds after it already spawns. And you can see they can come out of base. They can use the Baron. The recall empowerment lets them get the back base faster. Can they burst this fast enough? It's AP Kai'Sa. This thing should explode.
It's taken down to about 2/3 HP at this very moment. Half now, but Coffee and Sun Stars right here. They're in the pit now. And I mean, ultimate committed from the side of Coffee to burst this one down, and that's going to be sole point for both teams now as we move on to the 7th Drake of the game. Still no Elder Drake going to be available. Going to be a very closely contested one now. And yeah, Akuma Sabers, well and truly, I mean, they are still down about 3k gold, but at 35 minutes, that's basically nothing at this point.
That gold lead was almost entirety Flame. Flame has literally 4,000 gold over basing, but it doesn't matter when Gwen is this far ahead, when Vailder's able to eventually farm up, and we're seeing Matt G, he's just making sure that he's picking up gold for himself, and he's in good positions. I think Matt G, this series, while he's had some hiccups, has had a fantastic series so far, even if they were to lose this one. Now Coffee's on the side.
Coffee is on the side, will not take much, but that's going to be Sourcewalker taken down very quickly once again. Encore going to find a lot, but is the damage here? Flame is in there, found a lot, but there's just not enough damage to fall up on the back side of it. Hockey still full health at the very least. Scatter the weak will set up Hockey. Hockey now will survive just a little bit longer. Charm going to find its way onto Sun and Stars, but it's still going to be numbers advantage over to the side of Akuma Sabers, starting off this fight very well, and they should at very least take this first inhibitor, but I don't really think they can push this any further with how low these health bars are.
I would think with the range advantage that we see from the side of Omega Goobers that this should be in their advantage, but I mean, I'm going to be honest, Hockey's kind of like a KDA player right now. He's not been really kind of finding those flank plays that we want to see. We haven't been seeing him really apply pressure onto the back line. And Hockey has been trapped in these terrible side lane situations, which is part of playing this game. You have to be really knowledgeable of when you're allowed to play side lanes and when you have to be grouping and looking for plays. As an Ahri, it is so important to know who has flash so you can go for your snap engage with the charm. But that has just not been the case. And I do think that that Baron trade that we saw, instead of just going for the soul, is really starting to bite Omega Goobers now. As we, like you said, we're at 7th Drake of the game. And this gold lead is just more and more compiling in the favor of Akuma. This Gwen is a nightmare to deal with. Level 18, almost 6 items at this point, still has an entire other item that she has to buy from the jungle position. This is it for the side of Omega Goobers. There's not too many items they're going to be able to buy in between now and the end of the game, in my opinion, so they really need to make it work. Flame is waiting in the wings, has the ultimate ready to go, and he's trying to wait with the Megnar bar.
Oh, that's going to be Coffee committing his ultimate very early,
It's
though.
a big win for them.
Won't quite have it available. Charm under tower for basing, taken down to about half health. Going down now. Encore will still only find the one as he's unstoppable, so effectively not really much.
Let's go,
Find the
Joss.
first kill. Those Omega Goobers find the fight that they needed against what might be the run of play. Going to be strong from the back.
Flame!
Nor going to find 3, and that's Flame finally finding the Nor ultimate that he needs. Another one going down. Only 2 members left on the side of Akuma Sabers, and it's going to be the Void Seeker picking out another one, and Joss is going to push this forward. Flame as well. Velder might be able to make it out here, but it's going to be Omega Goobers finding a fight for the first time in a while, and it was looking
It's
a
been
little bit
15
dangerous
minutes.
there. But it
Yeah.
has been enough time. But what else is there on the map? I mean, the next Drake is only coming up in a minute and a half. So even though they do find the fight, even though they do find the 4 kills, there's still not a lot available for them to really take off this map. So really well done from a micro sense on the side of Omega Goobers. But how do they turn this into potentially, especially as you mentioned, that key Dragon Soul coming up in about a minute now?
Look at how well they were able to play that fight. And think about the resources they had to use during that. It was Flames Flash, Source Walker as well. Not having these tools available for you for this upcoming Mountain Soul for either team is going to be make or break for this position here. Joss has all his items now. Right here, 5 items on Kaisa. Can they actually make the difference here, however, as Velder Syndra, a little bit of a slower start to this game, has been just finding scatter of the week every single time to put multiple members in that stun position so that Coffee can kind of rip them apart. And despite what's happening to Basting, he's still perfectly fine in terms of parity. He's going to be a Scion. He has his 3 items. And I love this start for him with not only the Kanik Rookern, but also... Oh, wait, they're just going for a snap engage? I don't
going to
think this is
find
good.
only one. I don't know if Basing's one you want to go into. One on the other side of this map.
Flame's
Flames
dead.
Going to stay low. Going to go down. Matt G, though, caught out. Surprisingly, first kill going outside of Omega Goobers. Flame is still alive for now. Hockey hopping forward. Hockey going to probably try to find Sign and Stars. Joss now going to charge in. Going to get down Basing and heal up on that Crypto Bloom. So 2 kills over to the side of Omega Goobers, and they will be able to pick up the Dragon Soul. It took them a while. We would have wanted them to pick it up in around 25 minutes, but they are finally getting it now.
And they'll be able to grab the Baron as well. It's spawning in 2 seconds here. It's going to be double Elder objectives here coming in for Omega Goobers. And that might just be the point in the game where we reflect and they go into review and say, Basting, you can't be here. We saw they immediately use the Seraphine ultimate, and they're not able to make that engage. Flame needs to make his way over here, but he won't have teleport, and most importantly, he will not have Meganar. Velder here available as well. Basing respawning in 10 seconds. He has the teleport as well, so they can chase them off of this objective if they need to.
They can, but it's already down to about half health now, Basing up in 2 seconds. They probably won't be able to take this one away, but maybe they could find a fight on the back end of it up. Basting has respawned now, but will not elect to use that teleport, as the rest of Akuma Sabers will just concede this neutral objective away. And my God. Wow.
Man, this is such a tense battle. This is our #1 team from the regular season versus the #2. And they are just delivering. Akuma having to fight back, claw back for a position in this game. Where Omega Goobers, they had that early game. The first 20 minutes looked so beautiful. I called it. I said this game is over. But we got to see them come back into this game. Coffee being the leader with his mid laner. It has been the battle of the mid jungle 2v2 in this one. And it just takes one last fight. A Mountain Soul in their back pocket with the Baron buff to boot. Omega Goobers, if they can't win on this push, you have to imagine that Akuma are looking to take us to a game 3.
Yeah, I mean, Akuma Sabers, even though they are playing into that Mountain Soul, it's tough, but I mean, obviously if they survive it, any single fight will probably be enough to win, unless if it's like, I guess 3 for 4 with only one member alive v2.
It depends on who lives, but also we're at that point in the game where death timers are going to be long enough. They should be able to end the game if they want to push through mid. They're pushing on 2 side lanes now, pushing on both outer lanes. Hockey on top lane. They have a wave in mid as well. Akuma are getting pulled apart across the map inside their base. They need to make a play. They need to find someone right now. Otherwise, their base is going to slowly get whittled away at. And again, it's that range that we were talking about with the Ahri, and now with Joss here. 5-item Kaisa can just fire away whenever he needs.
Flame does find the one. We'll hop away for now. He's fine. He's fine. That being said, Basting going to... Oh, wait, hold on! Coffee's down! Coffee's down! And one on... And Goober into the base of Akuma Sabers. Going to be numbers advantage with their health bar still looking fine. Matty G taken down very low, getting pushed in. It's going to be Hockey not going to have the Spirit Rush available for now at the very least. As they try to clear this one away, no inhibitors. In these next few moments, we're going to see all of these super minions coming through. The Encore will find one, but that's all they need. Basting is now down. Basting going to be taken, and Coffee still has another 30 seconds available. And as the numbers get choken out, Fielder gets caught by the Void Seeker. Fielder going low. Fielder finally going down. Sudden Stars as well. And it's all of Akuma Sabers getting pulled apart. That's going to be Omega Goobers claiming the 2-0 victory here in Game 2 in what has been an absolutely phenomenal series here in Blue Water Diamond League.
Fantastic job to the Omega Goobers. Across the board on Otter Talk, we all said Akuma were going to win this, but it's now 2 weeks. Their perfect season gone in 2 weeks here as we close towards the end of the regular season. It's only week 8. They've got a last week here, but big implications for the rest of the standings. Those 3 5-2 teams that we were talking about now all have the opportunity, if they're able to close out in their last weeks and we do a little bit of some funny matchmaking, there's a potential we have a new top dog ending the season at the beginning of this Blue Water Diamond League. We were like, okay, Akuma should be the #1 team. We get to week 4, they're undefeated, they're the #1 team. We come into week 6, we're saying, okay, they're the best team in the league, they're consistently beating everybody. And they're just constantly starting to fall here. Last week it was a loss to Mars, who's another top 3 team. Omega Goobers now with a #2 team beating the #1. Blue Water Diamond League is looking closer than ever this season, and it comes off the back of really excellent performance from our #2 team, Omega Goobers.
Yeah, and depending on results from elsewhere, I'm taking a little quick look over to the side of if any other results have come in, see if how that's panning out elsewhere. Art of can be the only result in right now is currently Kediment did 2-0 Art of Warp, so I guess we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. But there is
Kediment!
They're still in it. I mean, I guess we're right. But anyway, there is a genuine chance that we might head into week 9 with 4 teams on a 6-2 record. I mean, that's not what I had in my script coming into it, but I can't wait for next week to just see how this pans out, see who gets through and how we conclude this absolute I don't know. I'm stunned. It's been incredible. This is, I mean, oh, wow. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Either way, a
Ugh.
fantastic series, and again, stay tuned if you are kind of a friend or a fan of the league. We'll have a bunch of the other results kind of trickling in as series end, but fantastic job, and I think really exciting for the league that as we go into playoffs, the league is starting to look so much better.
Yeah, so with that in mind, and with this series concluded, thank you for everyone and tuning in for this monumental series here, and thank you for everyone behind the scenes at Blue Otter League for putting on the show. Wookie Monster, you're a legend. And with that, we bid you adieu. Have a good night, everyone.